Whistler.
If you could pop the other, put the other one on the charger.
Yes. Is this already turned on? Is it ready?
Yeah, as soon as it comes off the charger, it works. But let me just.
Oh, it's gorgeous. Winter, summer.
Is that Vicky Bakery?
Mm-hmm.
Open it if you can. Put it on the table.
It's the most prominent feature in Quebec City. It's impossible.
Oh, beautiful.
But they have little hotels there too. They're great. Oh, unbelievable stuff. It's just like, you want to go on urban hike? That's this place. You don't have to drive once you're there. You don't have to, or you can, in the countryside. This is unbelievable.
I'm definitely gonna add it to my list.
Get some coffee.
All right. Almost set up, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. It's not like I haven't been here since 4:30, right? It's a loaded question. Hello, hello. I know who. I didn't even look up. I know who got me this. Yeah, you're the man. I really appreciate that, man. I do. I've been craving one of those too. Hey sis, I hear you say turn up a little the volume. You talking about my mic?
When I was a kid, I used to deal with cigars.
Okay. I think we're good. Which one? I think I'm caught up. I think I'm caught up. All right. They know you're on it because Cesar went in there and said, Fernando, can you turn? All right. Ain't going for the phone? Don't worry, what you got hidden on there? You grab that phone. Cool. All right, we ready? Hello, hello. Feels a little low. This was up high. I don't think I normally bring this here or something, but I had it up and I was like, I can't see over it. All right, it's been a crazy week for me. I hope everybody else's week has been saner. But I got here early and was still running around at the last second trying to get everything set up. So I appreciate the patience. Anybody, well, not anybody. It sounds like I'm on Walking Dead. Does anybody hear me? Yeah. But anybody on the stream, everybody on the stream, let me know if you hear the audio good. So we can make adjustments. We have one cube. One of the things I ran behind, or audio cubes for those on the stream that don't know what I'm talking about. So we could be good about tossing that around. I'll try to repeat questions. I was behind on charging them, so there's one that's charging. Maybe about 2 o'clock we'll be able to bring the second cube out. And today we're going to talk about, at 2 p.m. when we get into our main topic of the week, I'm going to say the most important topic, well, outside of picking the right product. But after that, the most important topic in business, period, because even if you don't sell physical products, I know a lot of you have other businesses that you're in, and that's VAs or virtual assistants. And I want to say if it was up to me, but I guess it kind of is. I could pick whatever topics I want every day for the meetup, but if I pick certain topics that I'd like to do too much, not everybody's into them as much as I'm into them, and then I'll be talking to myself. But if you guys were as jazzed about this topic or understood how important this, in my mind, if you guys believed the way I do about this topic, we'd be having this topic like every other week, or at least once a month. Like I think it's that important. It's been that impactful in my business. So if the past holds up, this is a topic that everyone talks about, virtual assistants and delegating and working more on your business and less in your business, yada, yada, yada. But usually there's record low turnouts for this topic because it's just something that is really good to talk about, but then when like rubber meets the road, there's like trust and I gotta pay and like all this other stuff. So today I'm gonna cover everything from like when I think you should start, and the spoiler there is I think you should start a lot sooner than you think, and I'll back that up. Where is the best place to hire for what, approximately what you should hire, what you should pay, what you should hire first, part-time versus full-time, project-based, all that stuff, like where everything sort of fits in. I'll share some books that I think have helped me out a lot for those of you that are readers, which according to our last poll on Telegram is nobody in the group.
I didn't see the poll.
No. Well, it was a long time ago. It might predate you, but it was a long time ago. But I put it out there, and it was really just as like a hook because I really wanted to say something else, and then I was like, forget it. I'm never gonna put that other thing out there. And I could see the views. It got a lot of views. It's just nobody even clicked on it. 'Cause I think it was one of those things. If you say no, there's this judgment in the space that means you're not a reader and you're not successful. Or maybe you don't know how to read. I don't know. But if you didn't want to put yes and lie either, so everyone just decided to like blanket. But we'll cover all that. Like always, we'll start with a beginner hour and cover a little bit of news. We got the projector working early this morning, so I'll be able to show some stuff on the screen, and I have it set up to where anything I'm showing on the screen, everyone on the stream will be able to watch. Anybody who has questions on the stream, please ask. Myself, Fernando, or somebody will see it, and they'll ask on your behalf. I got another question last week, which was, I want to ask the question, but I don't want no one to know I'm asking the question. I have my phone open in front of me. If you message me on Telegram, I will see it, and I will say asking for a friend, so I don't have to put you out there. But it's probably a question that everybody else has, so just, well, however you want to do it, just ask. I suspect today's topic will not go over like the last few have, may even end around like 3:15, a little bit early, depending on the amount of questions you guys have. But yeah, so with that, We'll start getting into the beginner hours. So yeah, the sponsors are up. So on the stream, you should see the ticker on the bottom here. You'll see this on, repeat. These are good sponsors. Proud to have them as sponsors. Working with a lot more people. The process is a long one to be able to vet them, to be able to get it here. I don't expect you to drop whoever you're working with if this is a competitor, but any support you can give them, whether it's like resharing something on social, some hearts, some stopping by at their booth and doing a selfie, or maybe a testimonial for them. Even if the testimonial is how much support they've given to the community for what they've done here, right? I don't expect you to lie and say their repricing software is the best in the world if you've not used it, even though we do have the best repricing software here as a sponsor, which is SellerSnap. It just is. It just pays for itself almost immediately. Some people are turned off by the price in the beginning. I wish more of you were turned off by how much money you're missing by not having a repricer. But yeah, SellerSnap's by far the 800-pound gorilla in that space. So great sponsors. Some stuff to bring up. I guess we can't have today without mourning the impending supposed death of TikTok. I believe today at midnight something's supposed to happen, right? Maybe 11:59. Elon Musk is buying it. I mean, depending on what news outlet you're following.
We're like actively making sales on TikTok.
I get it. I get it. The last we heard from the Supreme Court is all of TikTok was going to be shut down, except the Wizards of Ecom profile, of course. They were going to make an exception for just the impact to the community. No, but you're starting to see some of those posts on TikTok now, which is, I guess this is goodbye. They don't look like it's goodbye, so I think, who here thinks a week from now TikTok won't be live? Right. Does anybody here believe that a week from now TikTok will not be in operation?
No, if they throw the switch off because Trump doesn't get it until Monday, I mean, how hard is it to throw the switch back on?
Right. So it goes dark tomorrow, or some 11:59 stay in court, which is we have a buyer. But I'm imagining, even if somebody jumps in and says, I want to buy it right now, isn't there like, they have to show a good faith, but it's not like I'm buying it and tomorrow we can be, so like.
Running crazy.
But you know what, the value of being in the news?
Can you throw it over to Carmen? You could just throw it at her, she's super athletic.
I'm saying the value of being in the news like this, even if, I don't think it's gonna happen, but even if they turn it off, you know what happens when they turn it back on, because it's gonna come back on? Here's all these new accounts, everybody's downloading it. I mean, like, this is the best thing that can happen to them.
Yeah, so I guess I agree with Carmen on that. And we were talking, some of us were talking yesterday, and my thing, mind you, I have a GED, I don't know anything about global politics and spyware and all this other stuff, but like, if you were in TikTok shoes, right? Oh, and let me be clear, because I do get some of these messages. If they are doing something, if China is doing something to hurt the US and the government, I think it should be gone. I don't care if it hurts my business. I think I would want it to be gone. I'm skeptical that that's happening, but if it is, it is. Now, if you are TikTok or your business, imagine your brand, and you're getting all this press. If you could have solved this 90 days ago, would you have solved it 90 days ago, or would you have let it milked out until the last second? Like, how much is that press worth? Even though some of it, I've not met anyone that heard the press and said, I deleted it from my phone, I can't stand, right? So like nobody, they're not losing people behind this press. So.
And there's nothing in the news that is like, well, the debate between the positive and the negative. I
Right.
haven't heard anything negative
Right.
about it. It's just about like, are they gonna turn it off or not? So they're not even losing, reputation over this.
Yeah, I want it to be gone in 7 years, right before my daughter becomes a teenager. Then I want TikTok to be gone, right? And then until then, though. But yeah, I haven't heard anything.
I want it gone tomorrow.
So yeah, I saw a lot of the other apps, they're growing. So TikTok is like number 12, and the one I'm in, Flip, is like number 5.
There's Flip, there's Red, there's Lemonade,
They're
there's.
crashing. The Flip has been crashing all week.
Yeah, I can't.
So I think so when it comes back, if TikTok comes back, you're diluting a little
Yeah, look, I think this is a really good lesson for us. Kind of taking this back home. This is a really important lesson to not build everything on borrowed land, right? This is happening to TikTok. I really feel bad for anybody's businesses that are going to be negatively affected by this. But
Can't say you didn't have warning though.
there was plenty of warning. This happened to me on Facebook a long time ago. I don't know how long you guys have been messing around with Facebook. When Facebook came out with business pages, it was just printing money when it did. And every post you put out there, every single person who followed you on that Facebook business page, they got notified. You got to sell to them. You got to do everything. It was amazing. And then Facebook decided to monetize it. And they just said, hey, your 300,000 people that you paid ads and did all this work for to get them here on this, following you, if you want to reach all of them, you need to pay for it. And it was a lot. So I went all in on Facebook pages when it came out for like 2 years. Probably neglected my Amazon business some at that time, but look what happened, and I was like, never again. That's why I didn't go too deep on ManyChat and all this other stuff that came out with Facebook Messenger. Or I just won't go all in. I don't think anybody here went all in on TikTok, but a lot of us were starting to dedicate some resources. Truth be told, I'm still dedicating resources, even though it's, gone tonight. We have someone who's now on the team. I mentioned a couple weeks ago, Erica, who you see Erica, and we're testing all kind of stuff on the back end and loving what we're seeing on TikTok. TikTok goes away for X amount of time. We're going to apply that towards Instagram or Shorts or whatever. But my guess, my GED qualified guess is that it's probably coming back. So stay tuned. But needed to bring that up. One of the things we finally started getting on TikTok, approaching it more as a TikTok creator, by the way, not as a TikTok shop, is starting to get some solid brand deals with the new profile, which has been nice. I'm excited wherever that program pops back up, whether it's TikTok or someone else, adding that into the conversation of the Amazon Influencer Program with everyone. Not sure about you guys, but the Amazon Influencer Program had this period of we went from easy 3K a month to 800, a month. But it's picked back up pretty consistently. It looks like a lot of the stuff though, like the majority of our catalog of stuff that was posted on the program no longer makes any money. But approaching products differently now seems to make a big difference. I'll be putting out, I'm updating the Amazon Influencer course over the next 2 weeks, and I'll add some of that new stuff in. But I'm looking forward to bringing in some of that TikTok information with everybody here too.
Will that be on the app?
What?
The updated
So-
info on the Amazon?
That would be in the Amazon Influencer Program. So yes, it would be in the Kajabi app. So if you go into the course, depending on how you access the course, because some people access it from their desktop, but if you're doing it from the app, you go in through the Kajabi app and you see all your Kajabi courses. It wouldn't be through the Wizards. Well, actually, you could go into the Wizards of Ecom app. I've never done that. Let me do that right here. But you can go into the Wizards of Ecom app, go to Academy, and then yes, you can sign in straight up through the app. Thank Andres for that. We haven't seen him here on a Saturday in a while, right? Yeah. All right. Okay. Since it is the beginner hour, before we take any questions, and I hope you guys do have some questions, otherwise I might do. I don't know if you guys remember when Gabe used to be here, but he started picking on people. I thought that was a really cool thing that he did, but I might start picking on some people and just singling you out. You know I'm coming for you, right? You're right there, so you know I gotta hit you, yeah. Carmen gets spared a lot too. We might pick on her a little bit. I was reading this article. I did a podcast a while back about it. That did really good, but obviously most of you probably didn't listen to the podcast. But it had to do with and I think this is applicable in the beginner hour. And for most people, it kind of went for most people, if you asked, I'm curious, who here says, who's the best swimmer in the world if you just had to say a name? Michael Phelps, okay. You're going to think about it. You're about to go to There was like what were you gonna say? Yeah, you were gonna pick the best swimmer, because you're right. I saw those eyes, you were like, so most people would say Michael Phelps. The article went on, though, it was really good, and it talked about how Michael Phelps was actually really, really good at only a few different, like, very clear swims, like the freestyle, the butterfly, X length, and everything else. The majority of the swims, he wouldn't even qualify to be in the Olympics. And the reason, though, everyone kind of believes he's, the best in the world ever at swimming is because he picked that one thing. He went all in. All his training was around being number one in that specific thing. And when I read it, obviously my mind can't not, bring that back to the Meetup group and Amazon and business. And it was like, I think, especially beginners, and especially now when there's a lot more, there used to be a time when you talked about Amazon that it was like not a negative thing to say. And now there's check-in times, there's rising PPC cost, there's Amazon fee, there's like all these different things that you could hear coming up, but mind you, it's still the best show in town to launch a product. Reimbursements, right? So there's like, you hear all this, so now it's like, what, is this a debatable thing now? So it's easy to say, well, in case it is not the best thing to do, let me add Walmart, let me also add TikTok, and let me just throw in Canada and international, and add in a few other platforms. To me, that would be the equivalent of Michael Phelps just throwing in, ocean swimming and lakes and like all this other stuff instead of the one thing he's good at and staying in his lane. I think it's especially important when you're starting off to pick that one lane. There's a lot of stuff in that lane, by the way. I'm not trying to say the one thing. Pick that one lane, go all in, and crush it. And this applies to your products when you're first starting. Don't launch 10. I really don't think most people should be launching 3 or 2 at the same time. Just pick one platform, and go all in on it. Don't get 10 sales and then say, oh, it's time to turn on Walmart. Just get really good at this thing, get it on autopilot, or it doesn't have to be, there's nothing autopilot, but like get it much closer to the autopilot side, to where there's a team in place, VAs like we're gonna talk about today. It's very systematized. Get there, have a meeting, get together and say it's time to turn on another one, and be just as intentional about that other channel as you were about starting this one, and then you can go almost all in on that one. And to me, that story of Michael Phelps, I think for everyone I think of Michael Phelps, I'm gonna think of that, and that he was really just good at a few different races, and he excelled at, but everyone thinks he's the best in the world because he was the best at those. Yeah. I hope that made some kind of sense to you in the beginner hour. How many people here have been selling for under a year and a half? Everyone's over a year and a half? Oh, you guys are veterans now. Right, over, under. How many channels do you sell on?
Just Amazon.
Just Amazon.
Shopify, but doesn't.
Doesn't count. Why does it's just a super hard platform, but yeah. Okay, yeah, that's good. All right, beginner hour. What questions does anybody have? What's new in the world for everyone? Yep. I love it. She's like, Chris, I gave you the questions earlier. Speak.
So we have a little order listing that we were trying to refresh based off of some of the stuff I think you said in the last week. So we were trying to update the secondary images, not the main image, the secondary images. And we updated it, and the images are not
Populating?
updating. They're still populated with the old stuff, but the new stuff isn't updating on the listing. But when I go in there to look at the listing to like edit it again, if I wanted to, and it shows that those have been placed into the position.
For me, that used to happen within like a few minutes, or a few refreshes, if not instant. I'm seeing a lot of them take 72 hours. I don't know if it's been 72 hours for you. Lately, I've just been seeing 48 to 72 hours for images to update.
Yeah.
How long has it been? 72 hours?
At least 3 days now. We done Wednesday.
Yeah,
So
I would open a case, but
Okay.
I don't recall anything taking over 3 days, but I am seeing stuff take close to 72 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have, we have other listings that we did update, and they were like it said, it prompts you like, this will be updated within like 40 hours or
Right.
something. But I looked like an hour later, and the other ones were updated, but just, we have one that just is not, it's not updating.
Yeah, I mean, I would open a case on that too, but
Yeah.
sometimes if it doesn't take, I mean, you get an error, but sometimes it could be that there's something about the images that you're uploading that they're not accepting or liking.
Potentially, yeah. They're pretty, they're kind of similar to the ones we had on there originally, but they're a little different format and shapes and colors.
And what was the goal with the refresh on the listing?
We were just trying to like make a little movement with the sales with it. It's a slower selling item,
Okay,
so yeah.
cool. What else?
So, instead of like creating your own product, right? Jumping into, like manufacturing your own product, putting it on Amazon, do you think it's better to try to find a brand or product that's not selling on Amazon and create the listing, start selling that product so you at least get like some type of just like to be able to just gauge like, okay, how do I run ads, how do I create the listing before putting up all this money to get inventory and create your own product?
Can you give me an example? Like you don't have to use your product, but like, can you?
Like for instance, like I might go to a wholesaler and they'll have 1,000 products, but they have some of their own private label products, right? So these are not big brands. It's just like salt, with their own brand. Is it best to partner up with them? Bring that product to Amazon and then learn how to build your listing, run the ads, SEO, PPC.
Am I understanding that the goal here is you want to learn how to run ads and you want to learn how to create a listing without having
Yeah, to
30 to
kinda get
50K of your own money on the line?
Right, get
Right.
your feet wet, before you invest money on a product and put it on Amazon and not know really how to even create your listing or run ads.
Right, okay. Go for it.
Could you, I'm thinking for him, could you create a digital product and then like make a listing for that? That might be low entry there.
Talking about a virtual bundle?
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult to pull off on Amazon. I'm really trying to, it's a great question, but I feel like the question, I feel like it's almost, it brings up a really big topic and I'm trying to like, in an unbiased way, answer this, not as like me now after selling for 15 years, but more of like how I should approach this as a beginner. And this is what it is. So when I first started, and there was actually, the only reason I answered this question differently is there was someone in the group named Todd a long time ago who called me out on this and said, well, why? I told somebody that they should hire someone to create their listing. And pushed back on me and said, well, did you hire someone to create your listings? Like when you started. And I was like, man, this guy just pointed me out as like a hypocrite, right? And that wasn't my goal. So when I think it's really important for you to learn ads, but I don't think you need to learn ads. Okay, I don't know if this is gonna make sense, but I'm just gonna vomit it out and we go from there. So I think it's very important that you understand how ads work, right? But that does not mean that you should or need to be the person running your ads to do that. Like there's other options.
Like what?
Like a hybrid. That could be you hiring someone in-house that you're side by side, that you're learning as you go, and you're better for it because you're building an in-house team, or hiring an agency and saying straight up like, hey, my goal here with you is to not only launch this product and grow sales, but that in 4 months I'm no longer working with you and I've brought this in-house for myself, or I brought this in-house for a team member you brought in-house.
Gotcha.
There's also a really solid argument, which I'll try to make, which is running ads the best thing that you should be doing in your business, even if you know how to run ads? Right? Like, even if you could, is that the most effective use of your time? Which is kind of going to tie into something today we're going to talk about when it comes to VAs. And I didn't know any of that, and no one was asking me that when I started. Amazon Ads was a beta program you had to get invited to when it first came out on Amazon. And I got involved then. I absolutely hate it. You know what I mean? I had to get very, very good at it to do what I do. If I had to, like, if I was starting right now, I wouldn't do it. Like, mind you, the fact that I have an agency is kind of like, well, that's kind of important that I have that knowledge, but if I was starting right now and there was no like idea to go start an agency, and my thing was just like launching products, me going all in and mastering PPC is about effective as me doing that for bookkeeping. Like, you know what I mean? Well, I would just hire a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
I still want to understand some bookkeeping so I can do some good stuff in my business.
Yeah.
So I can check and make sure my bookkeeper's doing the thing. The only exception here, I think, is that if you're just a data nerd, like, are you a data analyst? Like, does the idea of a day of like getting a bunch of reports and telling a story with it and all that there, like, is that like exciting to you?
But I mean,
Right.
but to learn how to run the ads, is it that much that you need to know?
Okay, I'll say this. There's one way, I think, to learn ads. And this is assuming, this is gonna be a very unpopular opinion. There's one way to learn ads, and it's to lose a lot of money.
Gosh.
Right. And it's just not a lot of money all in right now, but again, I'm very good at ads, but if I had to come up with a number with the amount of inefficient ad spend or mistakes through testing or amount of money that I've lost over the last 10 years in ads, it would be an alarming number. Like, and as long as you're trying to get better every single time with it, I mean, that's the nature of the beast. But I've never seen a course. I've never seen even an agency that went in and tried to get you up to speed in 4 months that is going to leave you in a spot where it is still the right thing to do for you to go all in. You being the sole operator of your PPC in a launch. Like, I don't know, I find it reckless. Yeah, I honestly don't get why, if I told you you should learn product photography in Photoshop for your product shoot, you'd say like, I was out of touch. If I told you that you should go get a CPA to do your own taxes, you'd be like, no. Like, if I told you that for bookkeeping, you'd stop me. But for some reason, when it comes to ads, and this is the biggest driver, I mean, this could make or break you if done wrong. For some reason, and it, just as complicated or more than those other things, by the way. Like, but for some reason, there's a great debate there. So, do you love ads?
No, I mean, my thing is, like with Amazon, the way that they're changing, instead of, doing retail arbitrage or buying wholesale, the angle that I wanted to play was, try to partner up with different brands so I don't have to necessarily create my own product, right? Put up all this money for inventory. So I have to bring value, right? So bringing value is...
There's a hack that I know that you can do if you were like really serious about doing this and you wanted to do it in the safest, most profitable way possible. And this is the only shortcut that I know on ads. And it would be go get a job doing as an entry-level ad person for a company in e-commerce.
Yeah.
Learn every single day and get paid to learn,
Right.
losing their money,
Right.
and learn, and then get to a spot where you're just like, you're the one answering everyone's questions, you're the one solving everything, and they're paying you to do this. Like,
They're paying you to learn.
paying you to lose their money and learn. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's a massive hack that I've seen. We actually have the guy, he's gonna kill me for not remembering his name right now, but I'm blanking. What was his name with us that we went to the Mexican place? We all went to the Mexican place after the meetup. He's gonna kill me because I know he's listening. From Lebanon? Patrick, yeah, oh my God. Sorry, Patrick. Patrick does something like that, like, and Patrick's grown in his company. He's like indispensable. I think if they lost Patrick, the company would go down. But he could totally go out and just run his own stuff. And they paid him to get to that spot. So that's another hack. If you, I get the sense from you, like this fear of like losing money, totally get it. But if that fear is as great as I'm seeing right now, it sounds like you're working perhaps with a budget to start that private label that is too small, or if you lost it, it would be an extinction level event, and it's not a good idea to go in like that.
No, I mean, it's not really that. It's, you know, like, I don't want to pull money from over here to put it over here, you know, when I can just keep pumping it in, you know, to what's working. You know, I don't have an unlimited budget, but
No, nobody
I
does.
like to use my money, you know, to where it makes sense. And,
Yeah, I don't see, I can't really think of a benefit of finding a brand whose product is not selling on Amazon, that doesn't have any traction. I mean, if you find one and you're like, wow, this is an opportunity here, and it's like, and you can find something like that, and you go to the brand and you pitch it, and they're like, yes. Even in that scenario as a reseller, you're only gonna be able to run sponsored product ads.
Right.
It's a big one. That's gonna be the majority of your ad budget anyway. But without getting some sort of exclusivity or deeper relationship with them, you're not gonna get access to sponsored brand or sponsored display ads. So you're not gonna get the whole look.
Gotcha.
Do it, man. What's the worst that could happen? You find something, go for it. But I would hate for you to you use Salt as an example. I'd hate for you to get Salt, go in there, run some ads and say, yep, you're right, this is a great decision. Ads suck. There's no way to rank. You can't make money. And not really understand why Salt didn't work.
Right.
And like understanding like the approach, like if you had lost some money with Salt and it was your product and you were sitting on 5,000 units of Salt, you wouldn't just wash your hands.
Right.
You'd start figuring out about long tail keywords. You'd start figuring out about ASIN targeting. You'd start going a little deeper to figure it out. So
Well, I mean, that's what I want to do. You know, I want to go as deep as possible with, you know, partnering up. Like it's olive oils, right? It's infused olive oils. Like this
Yeah.
person has a whole line of different olive oils, olives, peppers, you know.
why don't my advice, whatever one you do, I feel like let me know the one you choose and I'll start giving you the best advice I can on that. But the best one's probably going to be in your scenario is either find a VA that you could work side by side with, because if you plan on doing it, that means you plan on putting a lot of hours every day into learning this. And if you are willing to do it side by side with someone. It helps to be able to have that feedback,
Gotcha.
that feedback loop with somebody. And somebody saying, well, I'm going to do this. Well, why are you going to do that? And like make them really explain themselves, like,
Gotcha. Okay.
or get with an agency and get with them, and so that you can, which is what a lot of wholesalers do, is and then use that with the brands and say, hey, I have an ad team and we're gonna, you know, do XYZ for you, and then work with the agency to learn. That would be my advice. Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in on that? Carmen, what do you think about that? Because you run ads, you still run ads yourself in-house, yeah?
Oversimplify, right? If budget is a concern, then you gotta be more hands-on. And I think everybody should have a level of understanding, I mean, a little more than basic before starting this business, because even if you hire somebody, how do you know you're getting the results that you're expecting? That being said, and it's a big mistake I did, and probably still do, is the more you do yourself, that's just your limitation. You can only grow so much when you do everything yourself, or a lot of it. So you kind of have to, I guess, pick your battles. But at the beginning, I don't see anything wrong with doing a lot, because you have to understand this is not a simple business. It's not anymore. This is just like any other business in the world. You have to put a lot of effort, time, and do a lot of things that are not being said out there. You know, when they tell you just sell products on Amazon, it sounds simple, but it's not. Right. So regardless, you're gonna have to invest the time. But I think the budget will determine how much of that time you spend yourself versus other agencies or other people.
One, Pedro mentioned that PPC is really into the PPC. In the past couple of weeks, we did lose a lot of money on the campaign.
go and then how to read the data, and then not until a few days ago I start re-looking at the PPC. So Carlos, based on your experience, for the level 1, which is the launch level, when you turn on the auto campaign, for the bid, the 4 placements, like a loose match, close match, substitutes, and complements, for those 4 placements, how are you gonna put the bid on those for the launching level, launch level? Yeah, and
Well-
another follow-up question is, for the entire lifetime of one product, how many campaigns you should put on this product until the day you're going to liquidate this product, how many campaigns you're gonna put on there?
So,
2 questions.
good questions. I'm gonna answer them. This is the most advanced beginner hour I think we've done in 2025, right? Okay, so I go all out on my launches. So I wanna win top of search with my ads. I don't have, my budget is when we lose, like I'm going all in, like we're spending everything. The other part you said there is level 1, I'm thinking, I feel like there's I don't know, I'm not sure what you meant by level 1 there, but level 1 for PPC is definitely not launch. Like, there's a lot of things that need to happen before the launch that you should be aware of on the keyword side and how you're structuring your campaigns before launch. And then if level 1 meant kind of like basic starting spot, it's also not a basic starting spot. When you're launching, you shouldn't be entry-level PPC. You don't get it's like some ninja stuff going on at that point. And if you don't have that skill set, you don't get a pass. You know, it doesn't be, well, you're launching, that's fair, we'll just give you a break here. And yeah, since you only know how to do these 2 campaigns or these 2 modifiers, then you're gonna be okay. So like, you really need to know your stuff when you're doing the launch for it to really work. Especially in business, when someone's talking about a launch, they're probably talking about an email blast, social media stuff going on, their influencers, everything. And in the Amazon space, a lot of the time when someone says a launch, it means they turned on their ads. That's it. So if you're not going all in on your ads, then it's really, really weak. The types of
Let me, if I can add a
the
little
types of
context.
modifiers, the types of campaign structures, like all that stuff I would do would have a lot to do with the competition that I have. One thing that I've always done, it doesn't sound very like honorable when you say it, but I pick weak categories that I can just thrash. I've never, and a lot of it's just come from like all the brands that I've started. And it's been a while since I myself have launched a new ASIN of my own, right? Which hopefully that's changing in the next 3 months. But I never went in there and just was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna dominate the fat burner category. Like I'm going all in. No, I was looking for something and I'm like, oh, they're exposed. Their images are bad. Their reviews are bad. I have email lists that I can use to launch. So I've actually never needed, like, if I saw that there was a lot of resistance that I was gonna face in heavy competition in the past, I just moved on to another product. The product you're talking about doesn't fit that description, right? The product you're talking about is the main keyword is a commodity, like in a house. So I don't know. I don't know if I answered the first part there. The second part, go ahead. You want?
I mean, a little bit of something you mentioned, I don't know if this is part of the first question or second. You know, when it comes to PPC, so taking it a little back, these days, you have to be what Carlos described, like a data crazy person that just like love to, like at some point, just to give you a perspective of why I do PPC, at some point, a Friday night with wine and PPC, for me, it sounded like a good thing. If you think that way, PPC is great.
She didn't know about the meetup at the time, by the way. Let me-
But it does require right now another level, and anything that is, let's call it a easy version of Amazon, so let's say an auto, that is just for me, a way for Amazon to suck up your money and never give it back. The same way that they sometimes send promotions and they tell you, activate sponsor display and we'll give you $100 off. $100 lasts you for like 30 minutes?
Yeah.
And then you spend another 500 on a campaign that you gotta be very careful. I agree with Carlos, on PPC at the beginning, you have to be willing to not even break even, just lose. Because number one, there's no PPC in this world, even the best one that will show any results the first week. You need at least a month of running this PPC to put it at a level where you can actually judge if it worked. And in that month, you have to be okay with breaking even to losing, because you know you're having to invest in works that are not gonna work, and you know you still have to a lot of moving parts. So I don't know if that was on the first question or not, but that's kind of how you have to see it. And definitely you need help. I mean, PPC alone, I think, is equivalent of the entire business. It's like a whole degree.
Yeah, it definitely is. The second part of what you said was,
Well, the product lifetime and how many campaigns.
yeah, again, I've played around with campaign structure. Again, if you're really into data and ads, campaign structure could be a 6-hour topic. I feel there's so many. There is no, after trying a lot of them, I'm gonna say there's a scenario for each one to have its place. I've done, every campaign has its own keyword. I used to do that before software, which is no life. Like, you need to be single, and I mean, it's just, right, you need to just, there's no life. Now you can have a life and do one keyword per campaign and assign specific rules for each one of those campaigns, and using software. I've also done a lot of keywords in a single campaign. I find that one to be more of a no-no nowadays. There's an exception for everything. If I had to just give you a rule that I think you'd be safe on, I would never put more, I wouldn't, 6, 8, I wouldn't put more than 6 to 8 in a campaign, and of those 6 to 8, I would make sure that they were similar search volumes per keyword. Like, I wouldn't put 5,000 search volume with a 50 search volume in the same campaign. But even if you did, it could be all right. So like, you might have a few campaigns, you might have a lot of campaigns. Like, I don't feel like there's a wrong answer. I would say more important to this would be how you name your campaigns, and that when you create a campaign, that there's a very clear goal for that campaign, and then do what you gotta do.
Okay.
Carmen, you wanna chime in?
Yes. When it comes to campaigns, PPC, I think one size don't fit all. Top things that you have to consider are the type of product, right? Completely different. And product means competition, volume, like things like that. Then you have to consider pricing. The reality is that the campaign for a product that is selling for $15, it's going to be very hard to make it successful and have a good ACoS compared to a product that costs $50 or $100. I mean, simply because each sale is always going to have a higher return, right? So your pricing has a lot to do. And I have campaigns that I run 3 words, and I have campaigns that I have 100 words. And so how you structure, what you use on one or the other, I think is absolutely relative to the product. I mean, the things that I mentioned before. So you have to kind of, what I do is I do everything. Like, if I'm gonna launch something new, I launch everything. A lot of words, different, structures. I put everything out there. For me, ultimately, the success of a campaign is sales. I don't target anything else. I don't need my brand to be known. I don't go for any of that, because ultimately it's like a lot of spending for no return. My only measurement of success is sales. I mean, profitable, not at a loss.
Yeah.
So that's, and I can share a hack. Let's call it a hack to make it sound more interesting. But this is the only time in my life I'm going to share it for free. So this is what's working the best for me right now, and I want to think that it's a mix of 2 worlds that I kind of like started putting together, and I started creating, let's call it like the influencer type of videos, right, for my products. Sometimes you know, shows your face, you don't have to show it. Like the most homemade video you can create, and I started running video campaigns with those. Those are
Video.
converting better than anything I have out there. I
That's
have
good.
the same products running videos that are had made, and they have like professionals and things spinning and lights, and they don't convert as well as me in a table in my house, opening and doing the thing. So try that.
What kind of product was it that you were doing?
Shaker, that's how I make drinks. So try that. Pretty much, I would say almost all products, unless you're in like completely crazy competitive category or something, is working great.
Thank you. That's a very good tip for the video campaign. And I do notice that our campaign budget ran out like around noon,
Runs out of budget.
runs out of budget. So, but kind of interesting that the day during ran out, we don't make any sales, no sales at all. Money is gone, and in the same day, after 12 to midnight, we'll get like multiple sales after the budget, after the running out of budget. So is that considering organic sales instead of a?
No, that's
No.
Amazon. They don't
Yeah.
credit the sale after a few hours. Sometimes it's gonna show a week later.
Right, which means if you kept the ads running and you added budget the next day, so you'd see your sales in the afternoon, you probably would also start seeing sales come through in the morning, and they would stack through the day. Because you're seeing the day before's sales or that morning's sales in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's very rare to see the converted, sell from a PPC campaign immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, think that somebody might add it to cart, and then if they buy it a few days later, that might still be accredited to that click, but it's a week later. So what you're seeing is just the result of the time you were running the campaign.
Okay.
Yeah. And they might not mark it, I forget this one, but I don't believe they will show it as a sale on your end until it's shipped. Right, so you could be looking at something from 2 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And that you're seeing it in the afternoon might really go with that. How did it go, Raul?
Yeah, everything got delayed at 1 p.m., so I gotta record it again. But,
Why did it get
Good
deleted?
job.
no, it was something on the computer. Well, I had some time to practice.
Oh, he's frustrated. I can't wait to see this.
But I
Okay.
get it done, so.
All right. Any other questions? You gotta have some questions.
What do you think is gonna happen to the reimbursements, the people that charge you 25%? Now that it's by cost of product, whatever the cost is, are you usually helping to take 25%? Is it worth it?
Isn't it the cost of the product? If the
Cost of
product gets
product.
lost
It
and
gets
you're gonna get
lost.
reimbursed,
Of the cost, what they determine the cost is.
right, if they lose the product.
Yeah, they lose the product.
Right, but there's other types of reimbursements that are not loss of product.
Okay. They lost cases that's like $800 or something for me, and now it goes back to
That's,
nothing. Yeah.
that's
a big hit.
that's an issue that's new for everyone. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
that's a new norm that we're gonna have to get used to.
Yeah.
But remember, like, when it comes to reimbursements and reconciliations, that like Seller Investigator and stuff like that,
Yeah.
they base that's only one of the types of things they go after.
Okay.
So, but yeah, no, it's,
No, I see shipments come in, zero inventory inside the box. I mean, I don't.
I think the first thing that sellers are gonna do is they're going to increase, they're probably gonna fake some commercial invoices, or they're gonna raise their cost of commercial invoices. How much, I don't know, because you pay tariffs on the commercial invoice value coming in, so you might be paying more to bring the products in to then possibly be paid more. And then Trump
Yeah. That's
in a
what I was
couple
gonna ask
days,
you.
so Trump in a couple days, so it's like, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, the tariffs
Yeah,
of all the countries. Yeah. That's what I read. Yeah.
it'll be interesting,
Yeah.
yeah.
For a box, like if they lost like whole boxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be ready, because usually they find them, and it
Yeah.
could take a long time, but the 1 units, probably, yeah, maybe you can think of like what's gonna happen, but whole boxes, they usually come back.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
They're just lost somewhere, and then one day, they're gonna deduct the money they pay you because they found the
Yeah.
inventory. So as
Yeah.
long as you have more inventory, I wouldn't be that concerned about that part.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I agree with that, and I think the topic returns is a big one, but as far as Amazon losing your stuff, in almost every case that I know, they found the product.
They found.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, how much did they lose? Like,
You don't-
I would say the bigger strategy there is try not to send in, like, drip stuff in instead of
Yeah.
massive chunks, because if they lose a chunk and it puts you out of stock for a while, like, that's the bigger problem.
That's what I've been recently, yeah. I stopped sending big and crazy orders out, I'm just like, I split it up.
Yeah, this is a really ugly time for logistics on Amazon, like, and this is like, I think AWD, and they said they came up with AWD to relieve the pressures that were happening on FBA. They came up with a new program. It's a massive thing, like what they're trying to do and what they're trying to fix and streamline. It's ugly, like really ugly right now, no doubt. No way to sugarcoat that. I feel like with Amazon's track record to date, with like technologies and streamlining and their logistics that they're going all in, I see it getting better. I really do. Like, I don't know if it's blind optimism or what, but like, I really think AWD and where it fits will be a pretty powerful thing for us, but right now it's a very hard conversation.
Really? Wow, it's not worth it?
Well, that's a loaded question there, like, that's a loaded
I
question.
just got approved for AWD because before you couldn't do it because there was an expiration date on the product.
Now you can use
Now
expiration,
it. Now
yeah.
I'm getting AWD, so I was like,
Yeah, but I
should we
mean,
do it or not? They lose a lot of products.
how do you forecast? Like, I don't have an answer. Like, one of these days when you guys are gonna ask me this, and I'm really not gonna know how to answer this, is like, what's the best way to forecast inventory? Like, when should you order inventory for Q4? I used to say, and everyone said I was off the reservation with this, I used to say, like, you should be placing an order for your Q4 inventory in like June. But is it earlier? Like, is it earlier than June now?
Wow.
Like, because you could be looking at 3 months just to check in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's once it's here.
Yeah.
So if you have a 60-day lead time and 30 days on the boat, I mean, that's 6 months. And that's to the end of December. So what are we talking about? Like, you need to be placing your large Q4 order
March.
in 2 more months? In 2 months, we have to do a meetup on Q4 shipment. That's wild.
What do you mean?
Like, if you want to have your PL, your heavy push for Q4, for me, that's November, December, January kind of, but like October, November, December. You need to be placing that bigger than usual order in 2 months.
Why?
Because in 2 months, we'll be at into March. 60 days, say 60 days manufacturing, so we're at April, May. 30 days on the water is June. There's gonna be a week waiting for a wire, a week for an X-ray hold, or, deconsolidation, or transferring it to wherever facilities, like, all that's gonna happen. Stuck in, all that, so just add 2 weeks, because it's gonna happen. AGL might take how long on top of that? I gave them 30 days, but it's more than 30 days.
At least 45.
So at least 45, so add another, we're in August. And then check-in time to FBA is what?
FBA, no, but AWD.
No, to AWD,
AWD,
Pretty
probably
fast.
2 months.
right, so September, October, we're in Q4 right now. It needs to go to FBA. Like, that's insane. That's insane.
I mean,
How do you,
AWD and then AWD to FBA.
right, so like,
Another
you might make New Year's, that's it, that's a March order with a 60-day lead time. So if you say, oh, I have a 30-day lead time, just back 30 days off, you're still late, like, you still missed Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Like, and mind you, you paid for that, so that's money out that you're floating.
And then with that lead time, you pretty much need to order for a year inventory.
Yeah,
And the amount of capital that you have
So
to.
that's like, that goes back to the question, right? That's why, like, I'm kind of like, okay, let me partner up with with a brand, somebody that already has a product that's not on Amazon, to not have to deal with so many.
yeah, I think I'd like everyone here to I'd love everybody here to have a successful private label brand. This is my like secret, evil motive, right? Like, I want everyone here to have a successful private label brand, and I want everybody here to be cash flow positive. I don't care if that means you're holding down a full-time job that you love and doing it. I don't care if that's, you know, you have another business that allows you to pay what you need to pay in life to, you know, meet your obligations while you build it. All that other stuff is sort of irrelevant to me, right? I'd love whatever it is, that it gives you the freedom to do what you want, that it's a big value for your time and all that. So I find that the best way to do that right now is probably either you do have a job that pays you while this is going on. Obviously, you can see from my expression like how that sits with me personally, the type of person that I am, or you have something else going on that cash flows very fast and allows you to do this thing. What I've learned now, and like I look back and I'm like, what would I have done differently like 8 years ago, like knowing what I know now? I would have got into digital products, right? So why not bring the two together? Like if you're already locked into a product, maybe this doesn't fit, but like why would you not start an email newsletter community? Why not pick a product that lends itself very well to a digital product or courses or content that monetizes fast while you're doing this thing, and it all feeds on each other, but you can eat off one. I really think that that's the perfect recipe in 2025 and for at least the next few years. Or you're sitting on a position where you already have capital, you have investors, you have some stuff you've exited, but that's not the norm, you know? If you're gonna retire and you're just like, I wanna do something to beat the Standard & Poor, it's a totally different conversation that we're having. But I don't think that's most of us. Yeah, Ro?
How different will be the picture if you manufacture here in the US?
If you manufacture here, a lot changes.
Yeah.
Right. A lot changes depending on the type. Like if you're gonna manufacture here and you're getting into a metal product, one thing that changes is you might be able to pull it off in China for 30 to 50, and this is gonna cost you 300. But if you get into a food product, which we talk about a lot, and like the PLMA angle, just everything changes. Yeah, like your biggest hurdle is, let me get my packaging ready. But if you nail that, like that's where you're stuck. Like, but if you took 3 times longer on the packaging than what you should, you still wouldn't even be at 50% of the time that you would need to be having your stuff en route on the other hand. So like, yeah, it changes everything. Person has the ingredients on hand or whatever they need to mix. Yeah, like everything changes. Yeah, it's a great one. All right. Yeah. I knew it. I knew it was gonna be PPC.
It's easy. Would you recommend for ASIN you fulfill by yourself, like not FBA?
Merchant fulfilled?
Yeah, merchant fulfilled.
Do
Would you recommend to throw PPC on that ASIN?
I feel like I'm missing a lot of information, but I mean, I don't have an issue with PPC on a merchant fulfilled listing. I mean, I have an issue with PPC on a merchant fulfilled listing. I'm not a huge fan of a merchant fulfilled listing though.
Yeah, we have two cases where nothing was shipped in. We'll fulfill by ourselves at home, and just we'll consider, we wanted to throw some money out there, at least to push up.
Yeah, so remember, it's close to 60% of the households in the US have a Prime account. And an alarmingly high amount of them start their shopping experience with show me only Prime eligible items. So a very, very large percentage, which I don't know the number, but a very, very, very large percentage of people when they shop on Amazon won't even see your product because it's not Prime eligible. It's not in an FBA center. So like you're already starting with like a massive foot down. Like if it's a hot selling product and you're reselling it, I think there's some argument like look what we just said about the check-in time. If I was still doing arbitrage, I really, really think I'd be doing a lot of merchant fulfilled. Like, by the way, you do any reselling still?
I do merchant fulfillment.
Right. What percentage of your merchant? Like, how are you making that judgment? Like, you buy a product. How are you deciding? Like, what's weighing in for you to decide on whether you're doing? It's going to be merchant fulfilled or FBA.
If I can get big quantities of it, then I'll FBA it. You know, if it's a product that I cannot get big quantities, then I'll merchant fulfill.
What's the cutoff for you? Of like, what means big quantity?
300
you can get 300, you'll go to FBA.
Yeah.
If you get 150 or so, you'll probably merchant fulfill it.
Right, or do half and half, you know, just to.
Start selling at merchant fulfilled. Do you find that you're getting merchant fulfilled sales before your FBA inventory checks in? All the time, right? Yeah. Have you ever sold out of the half that, or the merchant fulfilled that you kept before the FBA checked in? Yeah, so that answers your question there.
Yeah, I would be low, you know, especially if, like, if you're running ads, like, I would be low, you know, then you can kind of get an idea which one is better to do. You're doing low.
The problem with us, the items is very heavy.
Fernando, any questions?
And half.
I see movement over here, but no, they're not. You're answering them, or you?
Yeah, that's true.
Just a couple of comments.
Okay. What are they making? Are they making fun of me, or are they? I'm just kidding.
Caesar's answering questions for you.
Oh, Cesar, good. All right. We should all kind of make fun of Cesar right now for not showing up, right? Like, not prioritizing us. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, let's get into the topic. So, who here does not know what a VA is? Don't. It's okay if you don't, but like the rest of this is going to sound like another language if that's the case, and I want to get it out of the way. Okay. What is a VA? Yeah. Right. So, a virtual assistant. I call them team members because I feel like the word VA has become a dirty word. A lot of people have referred to VAs as like a subhuman, less than intelligent, third world country, like person who needs the money, you know? And I'm not saying none of those exist, but I don't work with those people. So the people I work with in the VAs, it's very, very easy for someone with my not so high intelligent level to find people that are intelligent than me or more intelligent than me, and that's what I try to do. I've been working with virtual assistants for almost, as a matter of fact, the first business I exited, my ex had just left me, and I remember the insect guy thing, had just left me, and I was like, I'm sitting on this like chunk of money, and I thought I'd never have to work again, which is so wrong. And I was just partying around, and when I realized I'm gonna go broke again, I was like, I need to hire a coach. I wind up hiring 2 coaches. I hire a coach for organization, like an organizational coach. She was great. We were dating by the second meeting, and that went downhill really fast, right? So that went bad. The second one we couldn't date. It was a guy. He was a coach named Chris Ducker. That worked out great and has impacted me ever since. I've never spoke to the organizational coach, and that's why organization is not a strong suit of mine to this day. The coach back then, and I'll share the number with you, and I'm not doing it to kind of brag, but just the next point I'm going to make is I want this to hit home. Cost me $40K, right? And it was knowing what I know now, I would have paid 80, right? But it's the best $40K I could have spent. I don't think I could have done a fraction of the stuff that I've done or the fraction of stuff that I do without the foundation that I learned from this coach, Chris Ducker. The only thing I am not happy about Chris Ducker is that I wasn't his only client, by the way, but you'll imagine, like, I mean, if someone's coming to you for PPC, I have the same PPC spiel, I have the same progressional route that I'm gonna take you. I got a formula for this. So I'm not saying it's bad that he said the same thing to everyone, but he got the same thing to everyone, and he put it in a book that he sells for $9.99.
Oh my God.
Right, and I've read the book, obviously, to support my coach. And when I saw that it was every single word that I paid $40K for, there was a period of time that I was not very happy with Chris Ducker. But it's everything that I learned from Chris Ducker in this book, and the book's called Virtual Freedom. I cannot emphasize enough, like, if I didn't know for a fact that we'd decimate you guys from turning out, I would make it required reading to attend the group. Like, it's that important. Like, if you lost a bet with me, I would say, you know what, don't worry about me, read the book. Like, you owe me, that's how important I think that book is that everybody should read. What it talks about is, like, I've adapted and modified like so much of it into what I do, but the foundation is what I do. And I'm not gonna go through the whole book with you today, but I'm gonna steal one part from it so that we can kind of build some organization around today's topic. But it talks about where to hire VAs, what they are, what they're not. You think you know they are. Some pitfalls that you need to avoid, how much you should pay, how to know what's the first thing you should hire for. Really important questions that you can't start. And he's got a cool framework exercise that we can do together to do this. Some of you may have heard me say this before, but we're going to go beyond what you've heard before in me saying here. But the book's Virtual Freedom. The other book that we've spoke about before, and it's a business operating system. It's pretty intimidating for someone that's new into business, but you should be trying to implement this as you can, is a book called Traction. I still recommend you read that. You can't really do traction unless you do, you're in a good spot with what I'm going to share with you today. Okay? But, oh yeah, so Virtual Freedom by Chris Ducker, and Traction is by, God, I forget. One resource today, since we are going to be talking about virtual assistants, and in case I forget, we have that Wizards of Ecom app, the free one that you can get in the App Store. There's a tab at the bottom called Freelancers. Can I pull that up here? I wonder if it lets me. Let me see. Yeah, we got a tab there called Freelancers, and can you see my screen? Yeah. Where is this? I'll pull it up so you can see what I'm talking about. You'll see something like this in there. And these are virtual assistants that I've worked with in different areas, covering a lot of different things. I usually went through a lot of virtual assistants to reach this one, so you wouldn't have to go through like 10 or 15 of them. But you can access this in the app. I add usually like 1 or 2 every week. So I hope you find that helpful. I'll leave that there for now. All right, but before getting into the specifics of what you should hire and how you should hire and all that, none of it's really gonna make sense, because some of you are gonna push back and say, I can't afford, like, one of the first things you're gonna do is say, what'd I do with it?
You wanna see the screen?
Ah, okay. Yeah, I'll switch it, that's fine. You're gonna want to, what? That stinks. Let me push the screen again. There you go. So, see it on the screen. But, and it's assigning a value to your time. It sounds very basic, it's not. And most of you don't, I find this to be a big trap when it comes to retail arbitrage, actually. And some of the arbitrages, like I see people come in here and they talk about their profit margin, but they're not factoring in that they spent, not singling you out, because I think you're the only arbitrage seller here. I don't know if you do this.
I'm not even doing it anymore.
Right, but you'd see a lot of them would spend 12 hours a day running around Miami scanning, and then they'd say, oh, I made $150 today, and I was like, did you factor in the 12 hours that you worked today? Well, you have to do it to know if this is worth doing. Figuring out what to assign as a value of your time can get a little tricky. I find that people are either on the other end that are like, I'm a $2,000 an hour person, right? And that's a good confidence thing. That's really good. It's really good for the confidence, right? I think the first test you should say is, have you ever been paid that? And if not, you know, what was sort of the last thing you were paid for that thing? I don't know very many people that have been paid $2,000 an hour, so it's probably not $2,000 an hour. But let's just say yours is, let's even say $200 an hour, right? Let's say you were somewhere that paid you $200, which is nice. You got paid $200 an hour. It was for doing a thing, right? What if you find yourself packing boxes for your products for 4 hours? Do you assign $200 an hour to your time for that? No. No. If you've never packed a box, you are entry level. You know, but you need to assign some kind of wage, if you will, to your time, or some kind of value to your time, so you can calculate later, like, is it worth hiring someone, or is it worth me doing? The reason you should assign how much you think your time is worth, though, just as a flat rate to start, is, let's use that example. Let's say that you are saying, I can get paid $200 an hour for my time. Packing boxes, though, I'm more of like a $12 an hour box packer, right? And you do 4 hours of packing boxes. So to figure out if it was worth doing, you plug in the $12 an hour. But now look at what you could have made had you been doing those 4 hours at $200 an hour. So you missed an opportunity there. And in that scenario, it should be like a light bulb moment where you're saying, well, I need to hire somebody to do my boxes. And now when you're talking about, should I work with a 3PL? And you're like, I really don't like the dollar they're charging me per box. You're like, yeah, do the dollar per box so you can make $200 an hour. If you, while those boxes are being packed by the employee, go play Call of Duty for 4 hours, then yes, it was a waste of time. You should have done it yourself. The idea is that you have somebody else working on this thing so that you could do the other activity that makes more, right? Okay, simple. Out of curiosity, what dollar amount would you assign to your time? Go ahead, I'll pick on you. I told you I would. There's no wrong answers.
50 bucks.
50 bucks, good. Higher, lower, anybody?
I want to raise.
You want to go? Okay. Wow. Look, everybody's red in the face. You want to call me out? Jesus Christ. Even Carmen's blushing. But no. All right. I'll be nice. That was pretty brave of you. I didn't think you were going to do it. Just assign it. You don't have to share it with me. Just assign it to yourself and keep it in mind as we're going through this. And anybody that decides they want to push back in this event and say, I just can't afford to do that, be ready to tell me what your hourly is if you really want me to debate that with you. Okay? All right. I think if you're doing private label, I think you should be hiring a VA out the gate, like almost out the gate. I don't think it's going to get easier at some magical date in the future when you find yourself to be overwhelmed, and then hiring then, or waiting for the money to be rolling in so you could afford one. The good exercise to do there, if you're like, how am I gonna hire a VA if I'm not making money? Go back, assign a value to your time. What are you there's a lot of work you need to do before you start making money with the product. How much money is my time worth? What am I working on right now? Am I the best person to be doing that? And could I get somebody else to do that so I could work on that higher value activity? Okay?
I think I have a little pushback.
I know.
Depending on how, you say like right over that, you mean by that 6 months into the business or like a month into the business?
From your look, I want to go 6 months, but I'm actually thinking closer to 1.
I think it's not so much about the value, I mean the money part of it, but understanding what is the assignment that you're gonna give them. So if you don't know what you're doing, how can you tell somebody to do it for you? So I think you still need to invest the time to figure out, you know, there's always something new, there's more, but figure out what's your schedule and what's your, workload. I mean, not workload, just the regular tasks. Because I think the most challenging part for me on hiring a VA was, now what do I give them to do? Like I found myself at some point, it's like, no, wait a minute, no, at the beginning you think you're the only one that can do it. So that transition, I think, is the hardest part. But you do have to have something to give them, right? Like, create some structure in your business so you can have somebody do it for you type of thing.
Yeah.
So I would say 6 months minimum, assuming it's been 6 months where you're dedicated to the business, not a side thing.
Carmen and I are gonna be at odds through this presentation. No, it's all good. I think there's some good stuff in the one part she said that I feel like I could argue both sides to. And that is, you need to know what you need to do in the business so that you can tell them what to do in the business. I do think there's several scenarios throughout running a business where that will happen. I don't, and Carmen didn't say this, but part of what you can hire is someone that actually knows what some of those other steps could be that you should be doing in the business. You can run into certain areas where you don't know the question to ask, and if that ship sails and you didn't know the question to ask and you didn't know the person to bring in, then you could be in a worse spot. But for the most part, I agree. So I'm at close to a month, and Carmen, you're at 6 to 8?
6 months.
6 months after inventory's arrived and selling, so you're at a year.
Well, 6 months you should already have something going. So I think 6 months at the soonest, assuming you did everything very efficiently. Now, let me also clarify. So there are things that I think you definitely wanna outsource, let's call it outsource very early. And those are the things that you should never be doing. You should never be taking pictures. You should never be doing things like that you're probably not good at. So that should be early enough. But the person that's gonna take the task that you are doing, I think that you need time. You need time to build that schedule and those tasks and SOPs and all of that.
Cool. All right. The other one I heard, did you go to the Kajabi event with us like 2 years ago? I heard this at a Kajabi event and they were using Beyonce here, but there's something that I realized when I started hiring virtual assistants, that when the person said it, I was like, man, that is so true. And you get a lot of pushback, especially from people that have a bunch of businesses, they're doing stuff, and they're like, we got the same 24 hours in the day. We don't. Like, we don't have the same 24 hours in the day. When I was at this event and they used Beyonce as an example, and Beyonce has more than 24 hours in the day in their example. And that is because Beyonce probably doesn't, I'm using Jeff Bezos because I'm not a big Beyonce fan, but like, they don't cook their own meals. They don't go to the grocery store and get their own groceries. They don't wash their own and fold their own laundry. So like all those things that take up a bunch of hours during the day really doesn't equate to the same 24 hours that you do when you have to do those things. If somebody's a single parent with, kids, if you're single income house, like there's a lot of scenarios where it doesn't equate to where you guys have the same amount of time in the day. When you get virtual assistants, you start unlocking more time. So I think it's a good thing to think about when you're getting into virtual. There's gonna be a pushback. You're gonna be like, I don't trust them. I don't have stuff for them to do. And all this other stuff, but look at it as like you're gonna get more, almost look at it like you're gonna get more time into the day is how I look at it. Also, when you're thinking of virtual assistants, kind of like a little hack that you can do is local virtual assistants, if you will. For me, that's something like TaskRabbit or what? That's fine. Okay. TaskRabbit, or hiring a laundry service to come in and do your laundry so you're not doing your laundry. Like, run those same exercises that we're talking here with virtual assistants there by looking at, like, if somebody else was doing this thing for me, and I'm paying somebody else to do it, what is the other thing that I could be doing and how much could I be making per hour if I was working instead of doing X? I put them under the category of like local virtual assistants. which frees a ton of time, because to think that there's this separation of church and state, that what goes on in your personal is not going to impact your business, is delusional. But two great ones that I like is like TaskRabbit. If anything's, not that I'm handy anyway, but if anything's slightly broke or cracked or needs to be moved or anything, it's going on my list of like pre-approved freelancers on TaskRabbit, and I'm hitting them up, and they're coming in and doing their magic, and I'm working on something else that's bringing me more money. Things like Instacart, Uber Eats, and like some of this other stuff, I look at it sometimes as like a form of like a local virtual assistant to save money. But I don't know, a little advanced, slightly off topic, but the concept gives you more time during the day, more hours in the day, if you will, than your competition. Okay, here's the exercise I want to go over, and this is going to like really open things up for everybody. The book, Virtual Freedom, or primarily off the consulting, because he doesn't go as deep on this in the book, is to create 4 lists. The idea with this 4 lists is that it's going to give you a roadmap, and you literally could do it right now. It would be nice if some of you attempted to do this, but it's going to let you know who you most need to hire right now, the level they are, and how much you should pay them, right? But the 4 lists are this. You're going to write a list of everything that you do to manage your business. If you have multiple businesses, there might be some overlaps or whatever, but everything you do to manage your business or businesses. Everything you do to grow your business is a second list. Everything you love to do in your businesses is a list, and everything you hate to do in your businesses is another list.
Wait, so
Manage, grow, love, and hate. Can anybody just spit out a few things that they do to manage their business?
Deal with manufacturer.
Communicate with manufacturers. Pick up products from where? Pick up. So you're going to go pick up products from wholesalers. What?
Manage inventory.
Manage my inventory. Okay. So these are manage. Spit out some, just a few, just like that, for growing your business. What are you doing to grow your business?
reaching out to new suppliers.
So supplier outreach,
PPC,
PPC,
SEO. I mean, listing.
New products.
new product, product selection, product development, maybe? Okay. So you would put that stuff there. At first, you're gonna have this like almost vomiting all these ideas out, and they're just gonna fit, and it's gonna slow down, it's gonna slow down. I find that this usually takes a couple, you're gonna get enough out to do this exercise if you wanted to right now. As a matter of fact, what you've already said is gonna allow us to continue. But you're gonna be able to get this stuff out almost immediately. And over the next few days, you're gonna find yourself on autopilot going to do a thing, and you're gonna be like, oh, I didn't write this thing down. For me, it was once a month, I needed to go mail a letter from to the post office for this check to this one person. And I went in there and I added it once a month, go mail the check. Once you have stuff on your list, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to, I like to highlight, but you can, whatever you want to do, you're going to eliminate everything that is sales or strategic when you're starting. You're going to keep that. Like everything that's sales or strategic, you're going to keep that. Something like what Bruce shared, communication with the factory, could be strategic, right? Yeah, that could fall into strategic. There might be something later on communicating with the factory, which is like get tracking number 3 days after shipment and input it into our software. Not strategic, but for the most part, communicating and me just happening to know where he's at in his product development phase, like this sounds very strategic, right? We're not passing that off to some rando right now. The next thing you're gonna go through is, and by eliminate, I don't mean get off the list. That's why I like to highlight, but maybe just highlight this like green, money. Like we're keeping this. Everything else should be coming off your plate, right? The only thing that And it's not gonna come off your plate tomorrow, but we're gonna get it off your plate. I'm gonna show you how to get it off your plate today. The first thing you're gonna do with everything else that's on that list is you're gonna go through and you're gonna assign a time value. And that's gonna be really how much time it takes you to do this task. That might be twice a month. It might be 30 minutes a day. If you do this task every day for 30 minutes, I think it's gonna be more helpful for you to say, instead of saying 30 minutes times 7, or is that 3.5 hours? 3.5 hours a week. I don't find that to be as helpful for this step as saying 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week, right? Because it's a daily task. So you've assigned a time value next to everything, right? This is where it starts becoming a real eye-opener, and you start realizing how much work you're actually doing. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to write down the tools or the access that is necessary to do this task. So if it's pulling a report, you don't have to write internet signal, but you know, the person needs internet. They need access to Seller Central, and you just don't want them to send you the report. You probably want them to put it in I don't know, an Excel sheet or a Google sheet. Hopefully it's a Google sheet, and format it and present it to you, right? So that's going to be Google Sheet, Seller Central, and you don't have to put internet, but I have been burned by that. So I don't think I'm missing anything there. Yeah, so now we have time, we have the access or software tools needed to do it, and the last one is skill level. So in this example, pulling a report from Seller Central, getting that data and pasting it into another Google Sheet is basic data entry, right? So you need to assign like what that thing is that's being done. In this case, it's data entry. In Raul's example, which was like inventory, that might be forecasting inventory. The tool might be Informed, or you know, what's the one by, it might be SKU Preem, it might be, what's the one by Carbon 6, So Stocked. It might be they need access to So Stocked, a Google Sheet, my Amazon seller account, or maybe not because they're going in through So Stocked, and the skill level there is gonna be, I don't know, do you want someone basic doing your forecasting? Probably not. This is a pretty mission critical thing here. This person gets it wrong and we're out of inventory, it's a big deal. If you didn't put this under strategic and it was sitting out here as something to take, which forecasting is one of those things that if you got one SKU, might not be that difficult, but saying it, let's assume that it didn't fall under strategic and you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I probably want intermediate, high-end intermediate. You got to keep in mind what you can afford too, because if you just put advanced, expert, and you go look and you're like, well, you know, our business is making $40,000 a month and an expert in forecasting and logistics is $180,000 a year, then you got to make some tough decisions. Yeah. So we have by each and every one of these things, and there should be dozens, at a minimum, dozens of things. You're going to put the amount of time it takes you to do each, the access, tools, or software needed to do the task, and the skill level and type that's needed to do it. Are you with me? Okay. Once you've done that, the reason I like putting this on a Google Sheet is you're going to be able to like filter and organize everything by type. So I'm like, okay, I see a lot. If you're going to find in e-commerce that you're going to have a lot of data entry tasks. So let's use data entry as an example. Filter it to where it shows everything together on data entry. And you're quickly going to see, wow, I have 20 hours a week of basic data entry work that needs to be done. So you've now answered, do I need someone part-time or full-time? Do I need, how experienced do they need to be? And what sort of SOP would I need to create, or you know, instructional how-to video what I need for like training. Is everybody hot, cold? Everybody good? Except Carmen. Anybody? No, just kidding. What's the magic temperature, Carmen?
74.
What? Isn't that a caja china? Isn't that like a caja china? Isn't that like the internal temperature of a caja china? Okay, I put 74. Oh, I feel it already. You just shut off immediately at 74. You know we were not at 74.
There are only 2 degrees.
Moises, you're cold?
No, I'm
Nobody noticed the amazing curtains, by the way? I'm crushed.
Woo!
I'm just kidding. No. They gotta be steam. But it killed a lot of the echo. I don't know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been adding all this craziness in here to kill some of the echo as we go. But it seems like it's done the job.
Yep.
What a mission. Yeah. Okay. Anybody want to throw out an example of something that would go on their list? And we walk through it. You're writing, so you have something on your list.
Like, buying coffee, listening of your talking.
You said buying caulking?
No, by listening you're talking, it makes me think something else.
Okay, good, yeah.
That's what I know, yeah.
Okay, it's called inspired.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Raul, what about you?
Content creation maybe, not the scripts at all. I think like, okay, if you're looking for influencers,
Yep.
something that takes a lot of time.
Sure, absolutely.
Like, hey,
So let's do that. Influencer outreach,
Yep.
right? How much time per week or per day?
I'll say an hour a day.
Okay.
Now, it will depend on your stage for sure.
No, but let's there's no wrong answers here. So we're
Yeah.
gonna do 7 hours a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since if you want like jump in between, platforms.
Sure. Yeah, no, so right. 7 hours a week. What is the tools, access, or software that this person's gonna need to be able to do influencer outreach?
You can use Levanta, TikTok, transmit creators.
Do they need access to your TikTok account? You're asking yourself, are they gonna need access to my Instagram to communicate as me? My Levanta account, my join brand, so you're putting all that. And what is the experience level that this person's gonna need? So some of the exercises you're gonna tell yourself is, am I trying to hire someone here who has a track record at closing influencers? Or am I looking for someone here who's gonna copy paste my templates, and when we get a bite, notify me and say, hey, Raul, check this out, we got a live one, right? That's gonna have a lot to do with it. Okay. Anybody else wanna take a step, throw one out there? Yep.
What about, I'm thinking, I spent a lot of time on the phone with just like project management.
I thought you were gonna say on TikTok.
But like, is there any, like, I'm thinking like a virtual assistant that's like could be like maybe a light project manager that would like there's sometimes like a vendor of ours that I don't necessarily like need to take action with them, but I just want like an update or a follow up with them. Would there be someone that like I give them a list of my phone numbers for these people and say, hey, can you give me an update? And then they could play phone tag with them all day.
So, it sounds like you're looking for someone to reach out with some regular cadence to your suppliers and get updates as to what's going on. Yeah, okay. Yes, it exists. If you create the job description saying anything with the word project manager in it, you're probably gonna pay 5-6 times the amount of what you need to pay because of that word. And light project manager on a job forum means trying to pay as little as possible for an important role, right? So that's not gonna work. However, what you described could also just be communications, right? So like choosing the word that you use, and like naming it, is pretty important. And then finally, one of the roles we're gonna talk about, which would fit perfectly for that, is a GVA, and that's a general virtual assistant, right? Because that's what you need. You don't need someone to like manage a project. Right, okay. Before we get into GVAs, we now have, next to a bunch of tasks, we have time. Was there a question? Yeah.
You add DoorDash and laundry to your business expenses.
Can you add DoorDash and what? And laundry to business expenses. I'd have to stop the recording to answer that. No, I'm just kidding. I push limits, and then I just go to my bookkeeper and accountants. A lot of this stuff, you just talk to your accountant, and then if you picked a good accountant, basically one that doesn't think they work for the IRS, I don't know.
Dry
I-
cleaning, you can add dry cleaning to your,
I've tried, well, not dry cleaning, I mean, you don't see, that's what I wear, but like, I've tried to get them to tell me that yes, I could just do a laundry service and that it would be a business expense. I've never gotten a response back that said, yes, I could do 100% of it. It had to do with like, did I need it to go specifically, to go do something that was specific to that? And my whole laundry thing, was it just stuff with that? Did it have my family stuff in it? Like, you're doing this weekly, 40 pounds worth, like, the coolest, so I could I add DoorDash for like a business meal expense? I do when it's relevant. My bookkeeper and accountant make me put the names down of all the people that were there and a brief little line about what we talked about. They give, if I pay the whole, like, you know how you have the thing now online where you can split a bill on Uber and like everyone pitches in to pay? If I pay it all myself, they have less of a problem when I say it's a business meal expense. But if we go Dutch, all of a sudden it's like, well, how was it a business meal expense? So like, I don't think it's so easy to answer. I try to push. If I'm eating during the day and I work from sun up to sundown, I'm trying to push it as a business meal and expense, yeah. I think Al Capone did too. Yeah, but I like the way you're thinking, whoever asked that. Oh, it's Gigi, yeah.
Gigi Luffy 101.
Yeah, I think that's Gigi, like, see if she'll answer. But Gigi goes to like conferences and stuff with us, like she's an OG in the group. Yeah, I like the way she's thinking. What about you, Carmen? Do you put your Uber Eats or anything like that as a business expense?
Anything outside, anything let's put it this way, if you talk business, right, it's a business meeting. So now when it comes to home, because a lot of us work from home, there's already kind of a big chunk deduction you can do, right, in terms of the size of your office, which is, one of those things that can be stretched a little bit. So I don't push the little things as much because I go kind of for the broader, take the chunk of the business at home, blah, blah, blah. But of course, I mean.
That was a political answer. That was a yes or no. That's a roll.
Because the microphone is
oh yeah,
right
okay,
here.
I get it. I get it now. I get it.
But that's one of the benefits of having a business, right? Like,
Yeah, I agree.
I
I agree with
consider
you.
it a 30% discount on anything I spend through the business. It's,
Yeah.
It's tax deductible, etc. So you want to be smart about it. You want to know about it, or understand, and definitely have a good accountant for that.
The coolest things I've been able to do with the accountant is that fish tank in the front is a complete write-off, as well as the maintenance on it, and it's actually legit. It's called water furniture, and there was an actual line for it, and if it was in my house, probably wouldn't be able to pull it off, but since it's here, it's considered water furniture, which I'll take it. Yeah. Also, I have an okay from a very tough accountant that the ice bath that will come here I can do some creative writes-off with it if I can get a doctor to say that for health reasons, I don't know. Like, you could do some cool stuff, but, all right. What, the next thing you do once you have the time, software, access needed, and experience level needed, the next thing you're gonna do, and I don't know anyone that does this, and this is not in Virtual Freedom, this is something that I do. I have an exercise that we do in the business with software at least every year. I used to say we did it quarterly, and that is we hire software, we don't pay for it. And by saying I hire software and don't pay for it, we look at the software and we say, Like if somebody on the team wants to bring new software into the company, they have to go, when they submit it, they have to show if what this looks like if we hired this person to do this software. And if you were to look at the forecasting example that Raul mentioned, we would need an intermediate or high-end intermediate person that understood forecasting to handle that portion of the business. And we'd need them for about 10 hours per week, right? On the low end, assuming the catalog wasn't massive. In reality, we just need a software with alerts set up and somebody that's able to check it once a week. We don't need to hire someone for that. So we then go look at the software and we're like, wow, we can get the pro or the enterprise plan on this thing for $300 a month versus if I hired this person, I'd need to get someone at $16, $17 an hour. I'd need to have them for a minimum of 30 hours a week. And you're just like, there's just the expense, there's what I call the Dr. Phil expense there, which is like you have to be their counselor and like, oh, you're having a hard day, yeah, no problem. You have a headache, yeah, okay, you can't come in today. So like there's extra expenses there when it comes to the management of a team that are going to be factored in, and you're like, this software works 7 days a week, all day for $300 a month. The team, like when you have team members, you need to continue training them, which is what a lot of people don't do, and it's a mistake. With software, when you go through the exercise of we hire software, we don't pay for it, they have a team. It's a team of developers that are constantly working out the bugs and training that team member. So, and it's at no additional charge, as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact, when they charge more, I'm grandfathered in. So it's like, we go through that exercise with the software and we're like, yeah, this makes sense to bring in a software or a person. Then we'll look at what's the hybrid situation there. Like sometimes the software will do 80% or 99%, like I just said with Raul, but we still need someone to go in there and look at it once a week. What's the skill level, like what do we call that? And it's really falls usually under basic data entry. Like we need someone to go log into something, see that it says this, and if it doesn't, tell someone. So we got the time, access, skill level, and then we go through is this a better fit as a software exercise before we hire someone. You with me on that? Any pushback on it? Anything you don't understand?
How about, the task, you have a whole bunch of ideas, but you don't know how to do it, so you have to hire someone to get it done. Do you think you can just, pack everything and give to this person?
Okay.
Such as like
So you have a whole bunch of ideas and you want to give them all to one person.
Yeah, such as Photoshop, photo editing, video editing, can you just pack everything to give to this person?
I'm gonna say, there's Superman, when it comes to working with teams and VAs, there's Superman syndrome and there's superhero syndrome. I'm trying to remember which one. So yeah, I believe it's Superman syndrome is what we call, Superman syndrome is what you call, you have all these different things and you refuse to hire, you have a bazillion excuses as to why you're not gonna hire anyone and why it's better if you just do everything. And you use Superman syndrome, right? And like, that thing builds up to kryptonite and it's gonna break you, right? Superhero syndrome is, you get a VA, I'll use the example, this person does amazing image optimization. And then you have this other one where you're like, I need A+. And you reach out to, Robert, and you're like, Robert, can you do A+? He's like, I've never done A+, but what is it about? You send Robert a link of what A+ is. He's like, yeah, I think I can do that. And you're like, great, I don't need to create a job description, I'm just gonna give it to Robert, right? So you load him up with that, and then you're like, I need to create an autoresponder sequence on Amazon to get reviews from people. You already have access to the account. If I give you access to my ChatGPT, can you just create those messages and load them into my X software to reach out? Yeah, I think I can do that. And you keep loading them up like they're a superhero. But mind you, you've never said, now that you're doing X, I'm gonna raise your pay. Because when I hired you, I only agreed to pay you for X, but now I'm loading you up with all this other work because it's convenient for me. The big problem there, besides it being creating a very toxic environment, is what's gonna happen is you're gonna be sitting down with your family before Christmas or, you know, Thanksgiving, and you're gonna get an email with the person saying, I quit. Just out of the blue, at the worst time possible, because there's gonna be a high stress moment. You have no idea what's going on, especially if it's someone from the Philippines or another country that's more of like passive and they just wanna say, yes, I'll do this, yes, I'll help you. They're gonna crack on you at the worst time possible, and you're gonna be left thinking like, what happened? So like, avoid it. Avoid loading too much on yourself and not letting go, and avoid stacking this on someone. Like, you just because someone is willing to work with you on creative design does not mean, it probably uniquely means they should not be working with you on your PPC, right? So don't load them. Yeah. One of the hard things is you are an idea person. Like you do have ideas. Your best friend's gonna be like a Notion board or like a Trello board or like whatever you want, and just have some kind of idea capture system to drop those things in and say, okay, this thing is safe here. I can circle back to it. It does not have to go on my never-ending, you know, wheel of remember this, then this, remember I'm gonna do this, and then this, and just will flame you out. So like, I'm like that too. You need to just have an image capture system. I don't care what it is. It should be digital. And dump it all in there. It's safe. You can revisit it. And what's gonna happen is 3 months later, you're gonna look at it and you're like, that's crazy, I'm getting rid of that. Right? All right, so now we're at the spot where you have all the information you need on how to get this stuff off your plate. There's something you need, is there a question? No. There's something you should consider here is the majority of the 15 years that I've been doing this, I have said 100% what you need to do is find, of those things that are left, the thing that you hate the most and are the worst at, and go hire someone that was my like immediate answer. I don't think so anymore. And hear me out. You're gonna bring someone on, you're gonna create trainings for them, and you're gonna create systems, kind of like to Carmen's point earlier about you're gonna bring somebody on, you gotta train them, you know? Are you, who have never hired a virtual assistant before, going to be better at training someone at something you're very good at, or something you're not very good at and you hate? It's the former, right? It's a really, really good argument to bring the person on. Remember, we're not talking about sales and strategic stuff. We're talking about things that shouldn't be on your plate anyway. But of those things, it's probably the best idea to hire for the thing that you're actually the good at and don't mind keeping, because it's still gonna free up those chunks of time. It's gonna be much easier for you to offload onto this person. It's gonna be much easier for you to monitor this person and make sure that they're doing right, versus something that you hate, you're bad at, and just dread getting out of the morning to do. Because when you first hire a virtual assistant, or first hire anybody, doesn't matter if it's virtual, you don't immediately free up all that time. You actually have less time because you need to train the person. Like, you need to be with them. It's so frustrating for me, that phase. But if you do it right, eventually you can, you know, cut the cord and they can go out and conquer. But it's not gonna be like that in the beginning. And the quicker you can get to kind of cutting the cord and letting them go off and do their thing, the better. And you're more easily gonna be able to do that when you pick something that, of what's left, you're actually the best at and mind the least. So I'm leaning much further in that direction. So when we bring somebody on, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't mind having these things. It'll be super easy for me to get this off onto somebody else. And now with that extra time, I can focus more attention on those other things that I hate and get I'm gonna have much more time to address them. Maybe turn them into something I love. Maybe get a software that eliminates them. I can address them easier. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. Any questions so far? You're smiling and laughing in the background. I gotta hear that. What did you do?
You know something that I hate? Training.
You hate training. Yeah.
Right.
What part of training do you hate the most?
Like a virtual assistant,
Yeah.
training somebody that's need to find somebody that training from.
You know what's worse than training a virtual assistant? Training an in-person person. Like, yeah. You gotta really want to do it, because you can't just turn the Zoom off. Like, you can't say, we're rescheduling for 3. You know, the person's sitting there looking at you like it's a commitment. And you got to really believe in the person and want it to happen, because it's a heavy, as a matter of, I touched the chord. Moises in the back joining the team. I knew, I was like, it's such a blessing to have Moises on the team, but I knew what the next 3 months of my life was going to look like. You know what I mean? I told him, I was like, this is painful. Like, this is going to be, it's been good, right?
I thought that was personal.
No, there's some days where you're not feeling it. I can't just hit the Calendly with him and tell him, no, he's sitting right there, like right in front of me. Like, you know, so like it's different challenges, but it's easier than in person or yeah.
I think maybe one tip, I don't know for in person, but at least for the virtual assistants is, it might be just a little extra work, but it's worth it. Just build things for the long term. And so one thing that worked for me, because same thing, I didn't like to be having to explain something to somebody, and there are things that are second nature, and I have no patience. So if I tell you once, you should understand it.
Can you say that last part again about the no pay?
So I started creating videos, just everything I did throughout the day, I started recording it. And even that, at the beginning, I thought I had to like make it perfect, sound perfect. At the end, I didn't care. Just simply, everything you do, record it. You know, you have Luma or anything, like it's so easy to capture everything we do now. And that was for me the best thing to transfer as a training. And in fact, at some point, I started doing videos and asking the VA to create the SOP for that video, and now it's something I have, you know, for somebody else or just for the long term.
Absolutely. I totally support that message. Any other questions? All right. The first VA I think everyone should hire, almost regardless of what this looks like, but I really believe when you put this thing together that I just said, it's going to tell you that that's who you should hire. Is you're running a business, it's going to be more than one team member at some point. Interfacing with a lot of different people, or not even a lot, 2 to 3 people per day is challenging. Like, they're on different tasks and everything like that. You're getting pulled in all these different directions. There's a lot of little things in everyone's business that you need to deal with. There's some things that you might be like, Amazon's requesting, all of a sudden, Amazon's requesting some crazy doc. Like they've decided that my phone case is pesticide. You know what I mean? Like, they'll just do something, and I need someone to stay on that all day. But I just have so many other things that I got to do. I have to coordinate a delivery at my house because they missed the delivery window, or I need someone to find a locksmith to go to this address and fix this thing. These are all things that a virtual assistant, now mind you, some of these were not business related, but they are, because if I need to go do them, they're going to take me away from my business. These are all things on the business and personal side that a GVA can do. It's a general virtual assistant. They're also the most affordable. What this criteria looks like is they just need to be organized, punctual. I don't even know why I need to say that, but like, you do. They need to be punctual, organized, and really just be able to access the tools that you have. So for me, that's like, we're enterprise Google Suites, like the whole Google Suite. So like, they need to be able to access like Google Sheets, Google Docs, which is like almost everyone in the world. They need to be able to do that. I don't care about their accent. Oh, they need to be able to communicate in the language that I speak, written and verbally. I don't need them to get on a call with a vendor. I don't need any of that, right? But I need an extra set of hands and eyes to do certain things. The good thing here is if you get a first of all, when the GVA's off, you'll know, because it's a horrible day, because there's all these little things that all of a sudden just like magically appeared that you need to do. Some people call a GVA an assistant. I think there's a pretty big difference between an assistant and a GVA. An assistant might need to have a little more specializations in specific areas, and the assistant would stay in the assistant role, because that's what they do. A GVA, the good thing here is, one of the hardest roles I've ever had to hire for in business is project manager. And this is a later on thing, but bringing in a project manager that's not familiar with anything in our business and everything and getting up to speed is just, it's been a total dumpster fire for us. Like, we've not been able to make that happen. A GVA that started with us super affordably, not with, hey, I'm hiring you as a GVA so one day you can grow into being a project manager, no. But a GVA who stays with us for a long period of time, they learn everything. They learn all the things that you don't think to train for. And they start getting better and better and better, and they start taking on more and more responsibility. You wind up having like almost accidentally this benefit of having a homegrown project manager some years down the road. And I do not know of another way to pull that off besides doing that. So get a GVA almost from the beginning. When you have other hires that you need to make, especially if you're the one doing the interviews, make sure they're in the interview with you. You want the people, when they're coming in, new people to the team, not to know that they need to report to this person, but that there is an order of things. Anything you need, reach out to so-and-so, and they'll let me know. Like, you want to create that funnel to where everything's kind of going through them to you, so that you can get your space to do your work and work on your $60 an hour, $200, $2,000 an hour activity. Yeah? All right. A lot of the things on your list will be eliminated. A lot of the things that we're calling basic data entry, and we do a lot of those things, a lot of the emails, a lot of like, go in there and create a bunch of rules in my inbox to just get, I mean, a lot of the things that we do can be solved with a GVA. You can get a GVA, don't do what Ramon does. I hope he's listening to this. I don't know. I think Ramon, some of the people Ramon hires, he pays $2 an hour. But like, he's nuts. But I think you can get a GVA, a good GVA, for $5 to $6 an hour. And they'll be worth their weight in gold. Oh, you like that rate?
You can get somebody for less.
Oh, you're leaning towards Ramon? Yeah. Oh.
If you do a good hiring process and you filter and you do, you pick, everything's possible, but, I mean, I'm very happy. I use my VAs from the Philippines, and they are honest, they are hardworking, just don't expect, they're never gonna become a project manager, but for what their role is perfect.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of money to them?
That's an interesting, so is it a lot of money for them? It's a lot more than over here, like a lot more than over here, but it's good luck tomorrow, Moise.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. It's a lot more than over here. What I found super interesting is that since Carmen mentioned the Philippines, is that, and I gotta word this right because I don't want to like make some like blanket general rate like racial profile, like profile an entire race, but I find that in the U.S. there's much more people that will immediately say, I'm doing this thing because I'm an entrepreneur, whereas over there it's less about starting your own business and being an entrepreneur and more about like my entire family, we live together and we're all in the house, and it's more about just doing my thing to support the family, not with aspirations to learn this thing and go out and start their own. In the Philippines. Philippines is really popular because of the language. They speak English, not as their like mother tongue, but like the English is very good. So it's a hot spot for getting virtual assistants. Okay, any questions on GVAs? Yeah, has anyone wrote anything down on their list that they're like, this is impossible, I can never hire this with a virtual assistant?
I think for someone like us, to master privacy person, and it's really hard for us to trust someone.
Give me an example. What would trigger your trust?
Oh,
I mean, I'd probably like be hesitant, but my mind is opening up now.
No, it's okay. There's no wrong answers here. Believe me, there's other people that want to think the same. Like almost everyone here who's not hired a virtual assistant has something with trust going on, and they're just not saying it. So like this is productive.
Like giving someone access
Yep.
or giving them access to my email, or company email. I guess I could create like a sub.
What's the threat? That if they get, like, finish the statement, if I give someone access to my Amazon account, they can what? If I give someone access to my company email, they can what?
I wouldn't think steal. No, I would think like, I don't want them to maybe like, mess up our listings or mess up our inventory structure.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh, now I gotta go through all our inventory and check everything.
Okay, so,
Something like that, yeah.
yep, you gonna? Oh yeah, some of the things, okay, so one thing that happened immediately, you guys know each other and we're friends, so like I can say this straight and you guys are gonna know. You guys have been selling for 1.5 years. You're making an assumption that the person knows less than you, first of all. It'd be very easy to find someone with 5 years and their worry is that you're gonna go in and ruin their work. So like, you're assuming if I do hire someone in that scenario, that they're just gonna know much less than you. There's an issue there with how you're thinking about hiring, right? Right. Or there's, and I know it's not you guys, where you guys think you know it all, right? So it's not that. So like, that's a fundamental thing there that would have to shift. Like, you're trying to find someone that knows more than you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
With the Amazon side, you're hiring someone and you're giving them and sending them an invite to your account, and you're giving them very limited permissions. If this person does not know how to create listings and is not proven to you that not only they can create listings, they can create them much better than you, and they've developed that trust with you, they don't get access to that. They're not gonna get access to change your bank statement, your bank data, you know. They're not gonna be able to do that stuff. Let's say they were very good at listings and they did more listings than you. Just because you hired someone, it doesn't absolve you from being a business owner. You do check. Like, you can't have checks and balances in place. There could be somebody else on your team that this needs to be sent to and they need to sign off on it. They could create this thing and say, hey, before this goes live, can you take a look at it? You could say, anything before you even add it to Amazon, I want to see it in a doc in this format and send it to me, and I need to see it between X time and X time. Like, you're in control there. You would approve it, right? So on the email side, you would create, what I think you should do is not give somebody on your team access to your company email. You would create another one, and it would be an email specific to them. Maybe it's their name, maybe it's hello at. But you create a specific email there, and then that email would be the email that receives the permissions to the account. So you're just one click away from, right? And then finally, for trust at first, I'm not a huge fan of this tool, but Ramon brought me to the dark side on it, and go to find out, I just recently found out he doesn't use it anymore, is LastPass. You lose LastPass, so you use LastPass. So like, you can have your login credentials on all these different platforms that you have. And let's say you don't want, or it doesn't allow you to create a user, right? But you don't want to give them your password. What could be something I go to? Yeah, you'll just go connect your account. I'm not even the one that does this on my team, but I think I've seen this. So you get your account, you connect it to LastPass, then you send it to their email. So now when if they have LastPass as a Chrome extension, Carmen? Yeah.
It's a Chrome extension, it's their own account, but pretty much you allow somebody to log in without being able to see the password or the credentials. So some things, you know, like my VA manages Etsy. I mean, I set it up like this. If I knew than what I know now, I would have not been so strict. I would have been more like, just log in. But at the beginning, I was crazy, like I thought they were gonna end my business, you know. And I did create a structure where I have control of everything. I mean, they do something bad, I can switch something and log them out of everything. So I feel more comfortable with that. So you can set up an environment where you give them as much permission as you want. You can get them out of the system with one click and things like that. So even if the trust is a problem at the beginning, you can set it up where you can feel confident they're not gonna, you know, steal all your money and shut down your account.
Do you guys like contract in the beginning?
Do we put a contract in place? No, I never have. I never do a contract with them.
Just go by hour.
Let me get to that. Let me get to that in a second, because that does play that does play a part. One thing that I highly recommend not doing, I don't know if you guys are doing it. If you're doing it, listen, I recommend not doing it based on my experiences. I think this is very damaging for company culture, and that may seem, if you've not hired a VA yet, like some foreign thing that doesn't apply to you because you don't even have a team yet, but it applies from the beginning. Does start with you, is there is a lot of time tracking software out there. I find it to be very damaging for company culture. I find it to be about the same as I'm working here, and there's a camera right here looking down on me the whole time. It says a lot about the trust that's there, and I think that it means you're probably not empowering the person to do stuff. You're not giving them the space to make mistakes. That's, you learn by making mistakes. So like, you're not letting the person learn effectively. But there is software out there if you're just like, and there's a lot more people that use it that don't, that are like staff, hub staff or something like that, that you put it on the computer, and when they log on and you want to pay them by the hour, you get to see everything they did during that hour. Like, did they log off? Did they do whatever? But mind you, for each one of those softwares, there's 10 softwares on how to game it. But it's out there. What were you saying?
No, I was gonna ask, about the whole trust thing. The VAs that you guys hire, how do you know that they're not working like with another Amazon seller?
Yeah.
And you guys can get hit like with like related accounts or something like that?
And then another question, whether we do the interview, well, the next question, interviews, what kind of question would you ask?
Yeah, these are good. So,
Top 10, top 5.
so the first one is, I'm not giving them master credentials to the account. They're getting user permissions to the account.
So you can't get hit with a related account if they're logged
I mean,
in?
you want to say, I mean, anything's possible in the world of Amazon, but no, I've never, and I've been in that scenario a lot where somebody was like, some poison pill was like suspended in a bunch of different areas, and I've never, if you gave them master login credentials to your account, you're like, hey, it's just easier for me, here's my login, go in here, then you're done.
Yeah.
Like, you're not allowed to do that, you can't use it as a defense, their IP's poisoned, like, yeah, you're done. But that's no issue. They're getting specific user permissions for that. That's basically, I am not the owner.
Gotcha.
So that's not an issue. Yeah, the hiring process.
Yeah, hiring process.
Okay, so I want to make sure that's the next best thing to say. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. It really, what is it, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. It starts with like, it's, that process you just did with those 4 lists is gonna put you head and shoulders above most people. So what you pretty much have done is created a job description out of this. That you're looking for someone with X amount of skill level that does these tasks for this amount of time per week, and you're gonna need access to blah, blah, blah. Right there, you're head and shoulders above most people's job description. Now with ChatGPT, you could probably pop that in there and just like make it better if you wanted it to look better. A trick I would give you is if you go into Upwork, and you don't I'm not saying you should go to Upwork, but if you go into Upwork, you can go into Upwork as either someone that's looking for work or someone that's looking to hire people. I suggest once you get your job description together, going into Upwork as if you're looking for a job. And then look for a job as if you were the person applying to your job, and see the job descriptions that are out there. The job description is that important, and you'll see other people's job descriptions and you're gonna be like, oh, I'm so much better than theirs. So you'll see something that you really like and you want to adopt. Like, for example, if you had a business here in the US and you were gonna hire someone, and you saw that someone says we give free health insurance, that's a scary thing over here. Like, it's a lot of money to be doing. But making that same offer to someone in the Philippines and giving them insurance for the whole year, you're talking about $175. Like, that's a pretty low cost thing to add, and really stand out and say we'll offer health insurance. And then on year 2, you and your family, and year 3, you know what I mean? Like, it's a pretty easy one, and you wouldn't have thought about it unless you looked at
$175 for the year?
for the year.
Wow.
Yeah, for like premium. Yeah.
I wanna move there.
Yeah.
Caesar wants to know the name of the software to monitor time, the time.
It's called cesardon'tdoit.com. No, no, Hubstaff. If somebody could look it up real quick, look up Hubstaff to make sure I got the right name. If you just search Hubstaff and it comes up, then I did. But I believe it's Hub. There's a lot of them, but I think there's like Time Doc. But Hubstaff is one of the good ones.
Hubstaff.com.
Yeah, hubstaff.com. Was I still answering something with you or no? Oh yeah, so I would go in there, get the job description, doctor it up, and then I would post, where do you hire? We, across all the different, I always say the same number. I think it's like 30 people lower than this now, but for all I know, it could be 3 people higher. About, let's just say well over 200 virtual assistants at this stage that we have across different businesses. The vast majority are from the Philippines. They're great. There's no reason not to go there. For a bunch of strategies that we're really trying to deploy later this year and in 2026, we plan on shifting to try to make 50% of our entire team coming out of Latin America. So let's say that also speaks Spanish. Hey, look who showed up. We're trying to make it to where 50% of our team is from Latin America. I just think a lot of stuff, like I think that's the next like major hotspots that are gonna be happening over there for great business is gonna be out of, you know, Central and South America. So we're trying to like really get stronger on that the team speaks Spanish. I find, and I learned this through Rafa from Share It Studios, that is a member of the group. It is so easy to hire on LinkedIn. So my new go-to spot, if it's not internally, is LinkedIn for hiring. You're gonna spend, I don't know, you're gonna spend $10 a day. You're gonna have more than enough applicants in like 2 to 3 days. I usually let it run for about 50 bucks worth. And for that role, you'll probably never need to run an ad again, like all the applicants you're gonna get. And
To find VA in the Philippines or?
if you're gonna use if you're going for the Philippines, there's a lot. I mean, you can go anywhere. You can go to onlinejobs.ph. You can go to Upwork. You wouldn't need to go past that. There's a lot of them out there. But if you're trying to go outside of the Philippines, LinkedIn is fantastic. Yeah. Or in our case, we're trying to do Latin America. It's fantastic. If you're trying to hire in the U.S., it's fantastic. So wherever it is, LinkedIn is now my go-to starting spot for hiring. Rafa created a quick Loom video for me on how to do it because I just thought it was going to be super expensive and intimidating to do on LinkedIn. I don't know where that video's at, but if anyone wants a quick video, I'll just create one and I'll show you how to do it. But it's going to take under 5 minutes. Very, very easy to do. You just need a LinkedIn profile. That's it. The interview itself, I've gotten lazy on this sometimes, but if you can, no matter how tempting it is, try to make it at least a 2 or 3 step interview process, even if it's for your data entry stuff. Not because those people need to be spoke to that many times, mostly so that you can give yourself the opportunity of actually interviewing all of the candidates and picking the right one. Otherwise, you're just gonna be, I'm so happy this process is over. I like so-and-so, let's just go with her. You know? No, like it'll force you to go through all of them. I'm a fan of video, depending on the country. There's a lot of arguments saying, like, especially in the Philippines, which kind of is true, they really don't want to get on the video. The time that you're probably doing the interview might be like 1 o'clock in the morning over there. So it's harder to be on video. I want the video. Like I personally, like if body language and how somebody shows up dressed to an interview matters to you, it does to me. I want the video. I'm not going to judge them for their on-video skills though. Like they don't look confident, you know, that's fine. But I've had somebody, both male and female, sitting Indian style in bed. Obviously nothing underneath, but there's a blanket over. Being very aware of the angle, so I guess the blanket doesn't fall. And there was a rooster in the room, right? And I was just like, this person didn't get the mission. Like This is it. I really don't care if they worked from their bed like that with the rooster in the room, but this is not happening. At that point, my trust thing would kick in. I was like, I'm not giving the person the account. Like, so video matters for me. If you have something like, I don't think this applies here, but it's the easiest example I can think of, or maybe a listing. You want to hire someone because you have a lot of listings you want to create. I would say at a bare minimum, you give them a listing to create. Have them create the listing as part of the job interview. And anybody that says, I'm not going to do that, just let I guess natural selection take its place. Let's let them weed themselves out. I'm not opposed to paying them. If it's an entry level, I just need you for a listing every now and then, I'd be more inclined to pay than I would somebody who is just like, this person could run an entire team, I'm gonna pay you a lot, I'm giving you insurance, there's a whole bunch of benefits here. Yeah, you just need to suck it up and like bang one of these listings out and show me in exchange for this amazing opportunity that I'm creating. If you want them to create the listing, be ready to give them a bunch of assets. So like, here's our keyword. Like if you want them to be able to create a listing based on the keywords you came up with, have keywords ready for them and explain the scenario. If you want them to do PPC, like say you were going that route, have scenarios built up. Don't do this. Don't go in there and say, do you know what a cost is? And they just like, don't have them tell you the definitions of things. Instead go in there and say something like, what would you change to increase tacos by X? And I have a listing. These are the 3 listings that I'm looking at, 2 of the competitors, and this is ours. We want to increase our click-through rate. You know, what would be the top 3 things you can think of we can do that? Not what is click-through rate. It doesn't mean nothing. So create, I call them scenarios. And the more scenarios that you can create, the easier it's gonna be. If you're wanting to create websites, give a bunch of website assets and have them go do it. I heard one from somebody in the group that I really liked, and I've actually used this one since, and it was someone I needed to do some phone work for me and making a bunch of calls on my behalf. Maybe it's calling vendors, right? I forget this guy's name, he doesn't come anymore, but he sent an email, like when you applied, he told you that part of the next step of the application process was to send an email to this email explaining why something, you know, like why you'd be a good fit for this job or something. They'd respond. It was an autoresponder. The autoresponder would kick back and say, within the next 24 hours, I need you to call this number. The voicemail is gonna ask you a question, and I need you on that voicemail to answer it, right? So the person would call. The voicemail would ask them a question. And the question really had nothing to do with a scenario about PPC, and it had more to do with like how quickly this person could think on their feet and just talk. So it wasn't a matter of right or wrong, but they had to. You want to see how somebody does on the phone? Get a voice recording of them. Voicemail is really easy. And the person needed to just answer it right there on the voicemail. This person had everything they needed. They could get hundreds of people applying every day. So I've used this since then and it's worked great. So it really just depends. The interview should look a lot like what you're hiring for. Yeah. The lazier you get at that stage, the more painful it's going to be for you. One more I'd like to touch on before we wrap it up is going to be part-time, full-time, or project-based. The sheets that you would have put together today, or that you're going to continue putting together after today, lets you know the amount of hours you need that person to work. So with the data entry one that we talked about today, which is going to be pulling reports on your Amazon account, all that other jazz, we know that we needed that person for like 30, 35 hours, so you knew it. What about project based? Something that I've been embracing a lot stronger that I wish I would have done a lot sooner, so hopefully you can learn from my mistake, is specialists. What I would do, I'd say 80% of the time that I've been hiring, if I need a specialist, I found a way, like let's say I need some really advanced things set up with my email when it came to like automations and moving people here based on X action. I would hire a specialist for that. It would cost a lot. And I didn't want to lose them, so I hired them full time, and I would find other projects I could do to justify having them there that I could make money on. I feel confident in saying that that's a mistake. Don't do that. What I do now is I go project-based. So let's say you're a data entry person. You hire somebody for data entry. One of the things you want them to do is pull Amazon reports. You don't want them to send you those crazy reports that Amazon gives you to download. You want them to format them and put them in a sheet that gives you the data that you want. And then maybe you want to see that, or maybe you want an alert saying you can check it now. I've updated today's blank. The creation of that sheet though, with all the formulas and all that other stuff, I hate that stuff. Like sum equals, I absolutely hate that stuff. If I need to create one in the day, that's it for me. The person that you're hiring to do the basic data entry, they're not qualified to build that thing, right? But what they are qualified in is pasting the data from where they got it and putting it in that thing. So I will now say, I'm not gonna be limited by the skill of this basic person, nor am I gonna have this basic person try to create something complicated that's gonna break. I'm instead gonna come up with a wish list of what I want, what this perfect world looks like if I had the dream sheet that all this stuff could be in. And then I'm like, okay, this thing requires an advanced Google Sheets person that understands VLOOKUPs and all this other jazz, and understands how to make Zapier connect, just massive thing. And I go to try to hire that person. And it winds up costing me. I mean, depending on the project, it might be, yeah, I'll build it for you. It takes a week and a half and it's gonna cost you $1,000. I don't know, sometimes it's 500 bucks, but I'm no longer holding that person on my payroll and creating work for them. And I'm allowed to keep someone working for me that's at an entry level that just needs to paste inside said sheet or said thing. You might need someone like, for example, yourself, when you were talking about possibly learning, you want to learn PPC, right? Maybe you have someone, and this is actually, we're working on some cool things that I should be announcing, start announcing to you guys like end of February. And in creating it, one of the things we're gonna touch on, and it's basically gonna take somebody from zero to a private label, like you're ready to buy your product and go in about 6 weeks, right? It might be 9, trying to get it to 6, but like 6 weeks. But one of the things we're gonna touch on is how do you get someone to get a pro, we're working on it actually, Raul and I are working on it. One of the topics, and you know what I'm about to say, is you can't get someone to get a private label product without touching on PPC. But as soon as you open that box of PPC, you ain't talking about a 6-week course anymore. You ain't talking about a course, you're talking about a lot. So one of the things we were brainstorming is what I'm about to say in a different way. So you might want somebody that you can get, or that is willing to go in there and get your weekly PPC reports, look at them and say, based on this, based on what I know of your budget and your goals, like I know about you and I know what you're trying to do and I know your skill level, here are the recommendations that I would make for you to implement over the next week. You do it, right? So it's this, you don't have someone that you're on the payroll full time on. If you did, they would be more entry level based on your budget. You don't want to go the full agency route because it's about as divisive as Democrat, Republican. You might be agency sucked, they don't care about my business. This might be a middle ground that allows you to learn and allows you to have like a sharpshooter looking at you saying, hey, you're going off the rails on this one. Like check this keyword, check this, where you could also learn faster at an entry level. So like you could find someone, a specialist like that, and say, hey, I just want somebody that will pull my report once a week, these reports, put them in this sheet and tell me what I need to do differently. It make sense? So that would be the idea of a specialist versus maybe the scenario when it doesn't justify having a full-blown agency working on your stuff. So think about it as part-time, full-time, and project-based. All right? Any question? Got a question?
2 questions.
I love it.
From Cedar. You recommend hiring VAs from the Philippines from Facebook?
I really don't care where you find your leads or where you hire from. If you put them through a correct interview process, it doesn't matter to me. Some of our best, because of the size we're at and how many people that are on the team, we have like a reward system or like a referral system internally now. That's one of our best hiring methods, and we're just like, hey, next month we're looking for X role. I'm not releasing it yet. Save me from creating this big job description and paying a few dollars in ads to put this out there. Depending on the role, like say we want to bring in, like we won't hire anybody for a PPC manager. Like we don't do that. Like we don't externally hire PPC managers. We'll do it internally. You start as somebody that's like, you're basically a catalog specialist, assisting someone, and then you're assisting the manager, and then you can move up. But this is a process because you need to lose money along the way and make mistakes. But say I'm realizing, okay, we lost somebody over here. I need to pack this pipeline here of people coming through in the learning process. I was like, we're looking for a catalog specialist to come on. I'll pay $1,000 to anybody that gets through the entire process, right? If I was looking for somebody a lot higher, I might pay more. And then what happens is these people know we got to work with this person when they come on the team. Our bonuses might be tied. You know what I mean? Like, let's not just send riffraff to have him go, have him go work with. And I'm happy to pay it if it happens. But you could do that too. Once you have somebody on your team, you could try. They might just say, I don't know anybody. Yeah.
For the Philippine part, do they work like an hour time or they work their hours?
Oh, that's a really good one. I should have said that. So depends on the task. So if they need to pull data for you, I said data a lot again because it's e-commerce and it's money, and if they're pulling data for you and putting it and formatting it and getting it where you can make a decision on that data, you're not going to consult them on it. You just need the data formatted your way. I don't care. They don't need to work my schedule. If I have a creative designer, I'm not going to lose out on a creative designer because they can't work my hours, right? I don't need. If we need to talk a lot, there's a problem. If they're coming to me for creative advice, there's a problem. There might come some times in the beginning where I'm like, the trainings need to happen. And I was like, in the beginning, I need some overlap here because I need to get involved and get you up to speed on where we need to be. Or there might come a time that if we can't resolve something or I don't know the words to do it on this creative thing, that I need to hop on. I'll try to be flexible. But there's some things though, it's on the day-to-day. You're doing a lot of hand-to-hand combat and you need someone in the trenches with you during that time, and then you need to let them know, especially if they're from a completely different time zone like the Philippines, and be like, I need you to work between X time and X time. Is that gonna be a problem? Yeah. Tom, you wanted to, oh, yeah, Tom?
Do you wanna touch on
No.
the 13th month and
Oh.
holiday pay, which is something that comes up often with my VAs?
Yeah. We will. That'll definitely scare everybody off from VAs in a second. No. Fernando, what's your question though, in case I can work it all in?
Caesar wants to know, what about using AI for entry-level tasks, pretty much?
I would put that in the category of, you figured out how much time it takes to do the thing. You got the software access and tools needed to be able to do the thing in that time, the skill level that's required, and then should this be hired as a software? So software, tool, or AI would totally fit at that stage. And you look at it and you're like, okay, I can hire this 40 hours a week, I don't know, $400 a week, or I can get an AI to do it. The AI costs me $40, but what kind of human support is going to be needed for the AI to do it? But yeah, that's a smart one.
And Daniel wants to know, do you have an agency through which we can hire VAs?
Do I have, okay, my agency does not, no. My agency does not act as a staff. No, I don't do that. Now, sometimes a VA might be too, like they've gone as far as they can go in my company, they're great people or something, and then I usually reach out to somebody in the group and I'm like, hey, trying to find this person a home. They've been great, but it didn't work out, and we do that. Reach out to me if you want me to think of you the next time that happens. I will say that after as many years as I've been doing this, most people don't want to leave when they work for us. I mean, any perk imaginable, we're watching masterclass together. I mean, I feel like we got a really solid culture internally, and people want to stay. There's what's the guy from Virgin Air? Richard Branson has a saying that I really try to go all in on with my team, and it was somebody asked him, they said, God, aren't you concerned about spending so much in training with them and teaching them and all this stuff, because then they're just gonna leave and go somewhere else and work for your competition? He goes, I'm not afraid of investing in them and they leave. I'm more afraid of not investing them and they stay. Right? So that's my approach towards that. I forget the question though, I kind of rambled. What was it?
It was, about you had a.
Yeah, I don't. My go-to right now is LinkedIn. I'd say if I had to pick a platform where the majority of people I've hired that have been beyond just a gig or project-based, would be Upwork. I'm like a power user on Upwork. We have a lot of different Upwork accounts. Next would,
Companies out there that do hire for you.
yeah, next would be onlinejobs.ph. I try to avoid staffing agencies like the plague. They've never, ever, ever panned out for me. One that I would just tell you to avoid flat out that like burned me really bad would be Virtual Latino. Don't do it. One of the things with staffing agencies that I have a big problem with, and they all claim they don't do it, is they make the person is the product on the team, and they sell you with, we do all the training and they have all the resources at their disposal, but they also hire that person out full-time to you, and they hire that person full-time out to 3 other companies too. So you're not getting the full-time bandwidth of one person. Right, that makes sense? Yeah, I try to avoid them. 13th month, this is something unique to the Philippines, and we'll wrap up with this, because we could talk forever. I mean, after this, we can network and keep talking about BAs if you want, but 13th month is unique to the Philippines. I honor 13th month. I think I'm coming to the end of the line on 13th month, and what that is if you're hiring somebody from the Philippines, it is customary at the end of the year, usually before Christmas, think about it as, well, enough time for them to receive this to buy Christmas stuff. You are paying them a bonus that is equal to a full month of their pay. Right, so very customary, very popular thing to do. It's also something that is falling out of popularity really fast as things go. I think it is a custom, it's not something that they made up. It is very important to them. It's not just a money grab. Like, it is something that means a lot to them, not just because it's money, but because it's like, it's a show of to them that you appreciate and what they're doing, and they're an honored member of the team, and that's why I've done it. But when Filipino VAs started exploding in popularity, the cost of one was actually at around $2 an hour. I have team members now that I pay more than US-based team members, like in the Philippines. And when you stack a bunch of them together, what turns into like a great Christmas, and you have your own stuff going on, turns into this, I mean, just, I won't put numbers out there, but I just told you I have over 200 virtual assistants, and the majority are from the Philippines. The majority work full-time. Assign whatever number you want to that, an average number, and then try to guesstimate what my payroll looks like, right? And then say ×2 during December for like a 13th month. So internally, I hate the 13th month. What I plan on changing to, and I've been saying this for a year or two, is moving. I do think bonuses, there's a place for bonuses. I think they're good, but they need to be tied to like,
Performance.
they need to be tied to some performance, not just the cultural thing. Like, if that's the case, then I want to stop hiring from there. It needs to be tied to some kind of performance, and I think the only way it could really make sense is quarterly. Because what happens if we crush 3 quarters, but get blown away in Q4? Why am I struggling in Q4, and I need to come up off this? So it's not, but if everyone receive bonuses quarterly. None of us received bonuses in Q4. It was a bad quarter. So I don't think it's fair to anyone to tie it all into December. And it's just horrible for cash flow. So much so that this year, I was looking at the numbers and I was like, man, this is like, I said, hey guys, look, we're gonna get together and we're gonna talk about 13th month in March. I'm honoring everybody's 13th month, but we're breaking up the payment through the first 8 months of the year. So it's my way of saying we're doing it, things are changing, and we have a meeting on the books to go talk about this. So I'm definitely gonna keep doing bonuses, but I don't see doing 13th month in December of 2025. Yeah.
You don't bring this up in the interview, right? You discuss with.
If I'm hiring somebody for like an entry-level catalog position, I'm not bringing up anything about bonuses or 13th month.
Okay.
I do make sure now that anyone we bring on the team that we're getting them health insurance. That we go out of our way to try to do. Yeah.
Gigi wants to know, are virtual assistants considered independent contractors or
Oof.
actual employees?
So what I have mine do.
Repeat the question, 'cause
Yeah, repeat the question. So, are virtual assistants considered independent contractors? I know a lot of different people that treat them all differently. I think that's how we treat them. They send us, I require mine to send an invoice for their work, and we pay the invoice across all of them. So we force them to send the invoice rather than some sort of payroll system, which is, I'm not getting into that. And we put them under contractors. Yeah, but we don't send them any 1099s or equivalents to 1099s. We don't do any of that. As a matter of fact, the majority of the people that work for me domestically, outside, like that are any related to Bluebird or like any of my businesses that are more quality traders, Invictus Sourcing, like any of those that are more like business minded oriented, I try to tell them, I was like, hey, look, if you make me put you on payroll, I'll do it. Why don't you just go open an LLC? Like, go open an LLC. It's better for you. I'll pay your LLC as a contractor. And to me, that just makes sense, all the sense in the world. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to do that. And then they go do it, and that's perfect for everyone. Yeah. Any questions? If not, that's all. Yep.
Any alternatives for, you said you were trying to look more towards Latin America. Is there any Latin American website that are very?
LinkedIn. LinkedIn, and there's a few spots. When you go to LinkedIn, if any of you decide to like take initiative and go do this before speaking with me, don't just put in like an entire country in Latin America. I'm seeing that if you put in the whole country, there's certain spots within a lot of the countries that are gonna pick up on this ad that are not great to hire from. But like there's a few spots within Colombia that are fantastic. Buenos Aires, Argentina is just wow. It's just some of the best, I mean, much cheaper than the Philippines. Venezuela, much cheaper than the Philippines. I mean, again, I'm not trying to like pit races against each other, but like say in the Philippines, if I want to get somebody and I'm like, I need somebody for, email outreach or sales. I'm probably looking at, to get a good salesperson in the Philippines, I'm probably looking at someone at like $12 to $15 an hour if they're like really, really good, which still is not bad. Their experience, I've been doing this for 3 years. In Argentina, I could probably get a master's degree at $9, and I've worked in a sales position for the last 7 years. So it's completely different. It's much more affordable, much higher education. Yeah, and time zones are better. Yeah.
Best way to pay your VAs, wire them, PayPal.
I make them, we still run a lot through PayPal. It's not, I get pushback saying it's not the cheapest. I've explored a lot of other stuff. Like I'm not just trying to overpay, but there's a lot of features like buttons and reporting within PayPal that I would pay for and just make everything a lot easier when I need to report things. So the majority of my people pay, they send me an invoice through PayPal, and then we You can assign permissions to someone who's allowed to go in there and pay all those invoices when they come in. And you can pay in bulk, which is great. You can just look at them, put them in an approved sheet. You could have, 50 at a time and just like, these are approved, hit, and they all process, which is fantastic if you're paying multiple invoices. Some people were starting to pay with Wise. There's a lot of people from PayPal, they're asking like, hey, can we go to Wise, which used to be TransferWise. And what's really cool there is a lot of these people that are at TransferWise for a little bit, and I'm not familiar too much with Wise, so if you guys are, maybe you know what I'm talking about. Wise will give you a US routing and account number. So after you've had an account for a bit, and then with that, we're just moving people when we're doing the bank. Like we'll have a plan with the bank that gives us free ACH or free, or like $1 wire. I mean, like we do a lot of wires. And if we have a US routing and account number, doing it domestically is really quick and really affordable. So some we pay on Wise, some we move straight to the bank. In Argentina, we'll pay bank, like bank to bank, and then Payoneer. And then Payoneer is another one, which I absolutely hate Payoneer. They're just a nightmare. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, so next week, the guy that's coming to present next week created the first software in the Amazon space. It was the first software that I ever created, which was Feedback 5 way back in the days. The company's called Ecom Engine. They are a sponsor. This guy's forgotten more stuff than I know in the e-commerce space. Like really, really knows his stuff. I'm pretty sure, I'm not saying this to just get you guys to come, I'm pretty sure they're gonna have some pretty sick deals on some of the stuff that they have, like lifetime deals for any of you that wanna lock in some like really good software. They have Restock Pro, Feedback 5, Seller Pulse. They got a new dashboard thing I think that's coming out that I think is gonna like beat everything that's out there. I highly, highly recommend coming. I'm gonna be promoting it a lot during the week as a reminder, but the meetup's already out there. In addition, it's a sponsor, so it goes a long way for me when a sponsor is here. If you just go up and say hi and thank them, I mean, because we're eating food that they paid for pretty much. Like just thank them for being a sponsor and like recognizing them as that. Like that helps me a lot. If you ever were looking for a way to help me, like thanking the sponsor helps me a lot. And yeah, we're gonna stay, hang out, network a little bit, and I appreciate everybody.
Hey, Carmen, if you ever plan on going up there, if you go to the city, it's all French.
How you feeling, Tom?
French.
Hi.
Oh, French.
All French.
I don't know any French, but.
Everybody speaks English, but it's French culture. And everything is French first, French language first. But why you like to go hiking? It's the most beautiful, non-mountain. There's mountains around there, but
Thank you, everybody. Say some
it's not
Janet,
developed.
Gigi.
Once you get out of the city, it's not
Joey.
like Florida where, there's subdivision. Really.